All right, the Committee on Finance and Law will come to order. First calling the roll, Dr. DeMello.
Present.
Mr. Enos.
Present.
And Mr. Fiore is present. First item on the agenda is review of the special warrant process, and we'll turn that over to Mrs. Moynihan.
Thank you, Mr. Fiore. There's a memo to the superintendent from myself asking that the school committee to allow the approved vouchers to be processed weekly. So that's what the special warrant is. Currently, the special warrant, all of our vouchers are processed weekly. And so some of the last time we did add another item to be processed under the special warrant was last year at this time. And that was about the stop payment of checks. At this time, I'm requesting the addition of requesting revenue from grant award to the special warrant voucher list. We've been in contact with the city auditor's office, and they, of course, confirmed their support and approval. So the Department of Education has transitioned their grants process into a new reimbursable system called GEMS. So previously, DESE would award the districts their grant awards in one lump sum. Now, grants that have been moved to the GEMS system, which includes all of our entitlement grants, Title I, Title II, Title IV grants. So the grants must be requested after an expenditure has been processed. For example, this year's Title I grant, the award is $2.8 million allocated for salaries, contracted services, and supplies. Once a biweekly payroll is processed, the Director of Grants, Catherine Latimer, will submit the payroll invoice into GEMS so that TPS can be reimbursed. Another example is that Title I supplies. Once the supplies have been received, Ms. Latimer will upload the proof of payment in GEMS, again to reimburse Taunton Public Schools. With this new GEMS process, our grants will always seem to be running in the deficit until we request reimbursement. And adding the requesting revenue from grant award to the special warrant listing will allow Taunton Public Schools to request weekly reimbursements, as the warrant process can take up to 3 weeks to process reimbursements. So currently, the voucher that are accepted on special warrants, there's 1 through 13, and then the 14th, that this is the request of requesting revenue from grant awards.
All right, so first of all, are there any questions from the members of the committee?
Yes.
Dr. DeMello.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Through you, I'm very concerned about this particular request. We're now up to 14 items. I understand the other items that are listed here are minimal or could be minimal, but when you're talking about utilities, those numbers can be very high. When we're talking about $2.8 million and millions of other dollars, I think you're eliminating the school committee from doing its job and what it's supposed to be doing, which is one of the 3 major duties is budget. So if this is a budgetary item, which it is, I think taking this away from the school committee is not in my favor. So I understand that there is some time of a time element involved, but we've been acting with this for how long in this process?
It's all brand new, so that's
all
the whole,
brand new.
right, so this has just started through the GEMS process, that's how it is. And it will be difficult for us, and now again, we're very fortunate that our budget is larger than smaller districts, but to tell you, it will make the process much easier, and it is not, please know that we have regulations that we have to follow through each of the grants, that it will not be taking away the power of the school committee.
It's not a power thing, it's just a check and balance thing, and, you know, the fiscal part of the school department, I think, is one of the things that I like to be involved more with, and being on the Finance and Law Subcommittee is part of that. So I'd like to see, you know, how this would affect, since it's brand new, how this could be complex, or what ramifications could come out of this if we don't adopt this tonight.
Well, I think one of the concerns would be the number of transfers that would have to be made, because you would be paying for items on the appropriation and then waiting for the grant funding to come in, and then you would have to make a transfer. So that would duplicate paperwork on the business office, which wouldn't be efficient, and would also would duplicate paperwork on the city side of the house. So it's kind of a spend as you go, so as you spend it, you get reimbursement. So instead of getting all the money up front, like we have in the past, and then drawing our grants down, we're only gonna be able to submit for reimbursement once we've followed all the procedures and got everything approved, and then submit for the reimbursement.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. I will not be supporting this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Through you, Chair.
Yes, Mr. Venus.
I'm in favor of this. I make a motion to approve the revision to the list of 13 for requesting the revenue from the GEMS award system.
Okay, the chair seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All those opposed?
Aye, opposed.
Okay. So noted. Next, we have two bills payable warrants. First, one from fiscal year '23 in the amount of $525. That is a single course reimbursement to a teacher.
Motion to approve.
Second on discussion, as we are now coming into January of 2024, 6 months after the fiscal year end, as of January, I will be voting no on FY23 warrants unless there's some extenuating circumstance. So for this, I am voting yes, supporting the motion.
Right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All those opposed, so voted. Then we have a fiscal '24 warrant in the amount of $1,136,722.
Motion to approve.
Second on discussion, through you, Mr. Chairman. On page number 3, the Associates for Human Services voucher of $12,500. So this is FY '24. We allocate how much to this organization? 125,000, I believe.
125,000 that they submit each month.
So since we're 6 months into the fiscal year, when do we get an update on what we're getting in return for this?
I can schedule that as a presentation in the future.
Okay, do you think January would be appropriate, Superintendent? Not beginning of January, but sometime in January?
Let me reach out, whether I include it as an update in one of our school committee packets or have folks from Taunton Alternative High School, the high school and task come in and make a presentation to talk about their work. But we'll schedule something in the near future, whether it's in person or a written update.
Thank you, because I know that there was pleas from the organization in the past. Myself and committee member Vieira were able to attend a session that they offered to the school committee, and they presented a very nice presentation. It was very rewarding to be there and understanding the services they're providing, but I'd like to know where we're at 6 months into the fiscal year, so I'd appreciate that. Thank you, Superintendent.
All right, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, so voted. Then we have the report on the,
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
yep,
I have another question on the warrant. The phone distracted me. I apologize for not turning it off. On page number 4, the Brown University, the grant. Could I get a little explanation of what that means? Genocide grant?
Superintendent Cabral, I could respond to that. So we were awarded a grant through DESE. Curriculum Supervisor Peter Gillen applied for it from DESE. It was approved. It was called the Genocide Grant. And how to include upper level classes in the history up at the high school. We is a unique district in that we have elements of genocide instruction in a whole series of classes, but nothing streamlined. We contracted with Brown University, who has a phenomenal program about genocidal studies, who's provided so far 2 sessions of professional development for the Taunton High School Social Studies Department.
Thank you, Mr. Barata. Thank you, Chairman.
okay. Let's take the vote again. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All those opposed, so voted. Next is the report on the contracted legal services for special education. The report indicates that services rendered in October of '23, in the amount of $2,057.60. So total year-to-date is $4,492.50, with a balance in the $50,000 account of $45,507.50.
Motion to accept the report.
Second on discussion.
Yep.
Again, the addition on this, I think we've encountered this in the past. If we have October 23 for 2,000, year-to-date, 4,049, is the 2,000 part of the 4,000?
No. Excuse me, yes, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
it is.
It is.
Yes, because that's what the
says
balance
year-to-date.
is.
Right,
Okay.
year to date.
All right, so October is 2,057.60, and the 4,492.50 is year-to-date.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then, next we
You
have,
need a vote, though.
Motion to receive and place on file.
It was made and
second,
seconded.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, so voted. Then next we have a series of donations. One from Tom and Jimmy's, the amount of $1,200, and two anonymous donations in the amount of $1,000 each, for a total of $3,200. And Mrs. Moynihan indicates that a letter of appreciation has been sent.
Motion to accept the donations.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, all those opposed, so voted. And then, update on facilities from Facility Dude, Mrs. Moynihan.
Again, this is your monthly memo of an update on how many work orders are in Facility Dude. As you can see that from the chart as well, but from July 1st, 2023 through December 13th, 2023, the total work orders entered was over 1,200. Within the 1,200 work orders, Taunton Public Schools occupied about 944% of those work orders, which is 75% of all work orders for the city's 59 buildings. Again, this is just provided by a director of facilities each month, so everyone is aware of the amount of work that's being done by the city within our buildings.
Are there any questions?
Motion to accept the report.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, all those opposed, so voted.
Motion to adjourn.
All
Second.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, so voted.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I call the meeting to order. If you could please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Mrs. Fagan, if you could lead us in prayer.
Lord, as we begin this session, let us acknowledge your goodness and mercy and ask your blessings on all our deliberations. We thank you for this opportunity to be of service to our community and to the young people entrusted to our care. And I'd like to have a moment of silence for three individuals who recently passed. The first one is Dennis Fountain of Taunton. He was a devoted husband to his wife, 56 years. He leaves children, Tracy Bullock, who is a teacher at East Taunton Elementary, and another daughter, Jennifer Westgate, as well as 7 grandchildren. He also, in his life, worked as a licensed practical nurse for 18 years at Taunton State Hospital, where he developed many lifelong friendships. He went on to work for the Taunton Housing Authority as a maintenance man, and he enjoyed working there. He also enjoyed playing basketball and bowling and all these different things he did with his grandchildren, going to the beach, yearly trips to the White Mountains of New Hampshire, and could often be seen walking around looking for a donut shop, I guess. And he devoted his life to taking care of others, and his lasting legacy is that he was a true and loyal friend to everyone that he knew. The next person is Roger C. Gagnon of Somerset, Massachusetts. He had a lifelong struggle with kidney disease. He passed away after having succumbed to that and to a battle with cancer. He was married to Tara Gagnon, who was the principal at, she's over at Galligan School, right? Principal at Galligan School. They had 2 children, 2 sons together. He was born in Fall River, attended Bishop Conley High School, and was a graduate of Southeastern Massachusetts University. He worked at the Apex Department Store and positions at Anderson, Littleton, Slade, Formal Wear. Formal Wear's last position was at the Bristol County Sheriff's Office. And one of the things his family would like you to know is that they were forever grateful to a gentleman named Mark Veloso, who generously and selflessly donated his kidney to Roger over 15 years ago, extending Roger's life and time with his beloved children. And the last person here died on December 9th, 2023. Barbara Ann George, grandmother to our colleague on the school committee, Derek George, and to his three wonderful children who she dearly loved. She passed away on December 9th, as I said, after a short illness. She was a retired teacher's aide for Elizabeth Pole Elementary School, teaching bilingual Portuguese students. And then she went on to help in her retirement with the family business at Ware Fruit, where many of you may have known her from. Former CCD teacher for St. Anthony's Church, and the first Women's Club president at the PACC. They said she also loved singing, and she sang with local bands and at St. Anthony's Church. But the most fun she had apparently was the time she had with her family and their trips to Aruba. Our sympathies to go out to everybody who lost loved ones and to our colleague Derek. I'm really sorry. I did send you an email. I know your grandmother loved you and your children dearly, so I just want you to know that we're all very, very sorry for your loss. And please keep all these individuals in your thoughts and in your prayers. It's always difficult losing family members this time of year at Christmas. Thank you so much. A moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fagan. Roll call, please, Mrs. Fagan.
Mr. Pulowski.
Present.
Mr. Enos.
Present.
Mr. Fiore.
Present.
Mrs. Fagan's present. Mr. Viera.
Present.
Mr. George.
Present. Present.
Sorry. Mr. Laura.
Present.
Dr. DeMello.
Present.
And Mayor O'Connell.
Present, thank you. Approval of the minutes of December 6th, 2023. Can we get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed, so voted. There is no Student Advisory Committee report this evening, and I do believe we have some people signed up for public input.
Yes, Mayor. So for public input, in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 23C, we kindly request that individuals wishing to provide public input sign up in advance. A copy of the regulation guidelines will be provided upon sign up, and individuals will be asked to state their name and address for the record. The amount of time each registered individual will have to speak will be determined by the number of people who signed the register and will be announced prior to the start of the public input portion of the meeting. Tonight, we have 4 individuals. First on the list, we have Ms. Janet Anderson, 22 Garfield Street, topic 2 Hamilton Street.
I am Janet Anderson. I live at 22 Garfield Street. I'm the president of the Taunton Education Association. So I've been following the debates and the discussions over the property at 2 Hamilton Street, and I'm here tonight to urge you to authorize the superintendent to begin discussions with the city over a possible transfer of the building. I know there's been talk about whether or not we need a study, but you actually had a NESDEC study a couple of years ago, at which time they said the high school is over capacity. They did not have enough adequate space, that every single classroom is used every single period. I could take you on a tour of any building you want, and I could show you how even our newer buildings are filling up really fast. I feel the necessity for a new building is imminent, and it would be foolish to pass up Coyle Cassidy at the price that you can get it at, and that you may need to do some repairs, but it's still gonna come in a lot cheaper than a brand-new building. We've been talking about doing a lot of things. We've been talking about moving the 8th graders out of the high school. We're talking about new therapeutic learning centers. We're talking about alternative learning environments. We need to have the space to do that, and the 3rd floor at Cohannut is not adequate for all the things we'd like to do. So I hope tonight, when the discussion begins, that all of you will vote in favor of authorizing the superintendent to have these discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson.
Next up, we have John McCall, 2 Commonwealth Ave, topic solar.
Good evening, everyone. I have a prepared statement I'm going to read to you. Good evening, Mayor O'Connell and members of the school committee. Tonight's discussion is about solar panels on Chamberlain School and other school buildings. As we know, solar panels are taking the world by storm, with an ever-growing number of homes and businesses harnessing the sun power. But with the surge of the popularity comes a burning question. Can these panels ignite fires? From my experience working in mitigation company at ServiceMaster for the past 26 years as their emergency response coordinator, I could say the answer is yes. Solar panels cause fires. Most fire incidents are linked to solar systems arise from faulty designs, shoddy insulation, and malfunctioning components. Back on April 12, 2023, solar panels on the roof of a Plainville home are being blamed for the weekend fire that those panels put firefighters in a dangerous situation. Solar panels are always energized with the sun on them. When the sun goes down, they are still energized, said Plainville Deputy Fire Chief Robert Skinner, as reported in the Sun Chronicle News. He explains that adding water pressure to the heavy panels could lead to the roof collapsing. Being able to get on the roof and having access to it, it's very hazardous. The State Department of Fire Services said solar panels are rare and are not tracked. My question is, why aren't we tracking them? However, at least 15 residential fires in Massachusetts linked to rooftop solar installations between 2017 and 2019, including fires at Dartmouth, South Dartmouth, Harwich, Carver, just to name a few from my research. Solar panels have been used in the U.S. for several decades now. Notably, only few fires can be linked to PV modules. Unfortunately, electrical systems often causing fires, and solar panels are no exception. Solar panel fires cannot start independently. Fires caused by solar panels have been associated with poorly installed panels, solar panel system sensors, defective junction boxes, along with other things. If we're going to have a discussion on solar possibilities in Taunton, let's think outside the box, like the East Greenwich, Rhode Island. Rhode Island may not be the biggest U.S. state. In fact, it's the smallest in terms in the area. But it seems that the amazing aggressive program for solar development and is keen to further expand the program with new solar carport incentive. There are certain carports which would be suitable for solar projects within the city of Taunton and capable of benefiting from the potential electric supplier rebate programs, which we should look at regarding the types of carports which could be viable for the solar panel installation. This is a start going solar, but we need to be a safe game to plan to develop that makes sense. So I am for solar energy, but I'm asking my colleagues in government, school committee members, my colleagues on the city council, along with the residents and business owners in our city to work together to develop a plan of action. At this time, I ask the school committee members not to vote or vote no on this issue until further data is researched for a healthy discussion for our city. My main reason why I'm here is the safety of our students and the staff when we talk about putting solar panels on the school's roof. I also like to submit this letter to you as part of your record. And again, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Next up, Mayor, we have Patrick Delarusso, 8. I can't understand the, Mr. Delarusso, I'm sorry.
8 Parsons Walk, Marshfield, Mass.
you
Madam
go.
Mayor, Mr. Chairman, if I also, could we include Mr. Chris Carmichael, our Superintendent of Buildings, to be allowed to speak tonight during deliberation should be necessary? He just came in after the fact. I'm just here to sort of just be a tool and a resource for the committee through the discussions on both solar and school. As the committee knows, we've come in multiple times. At this point, we also have our solar consultant, Matthew Parent, here to talk about the safety of solar, talk about the benefits of solar. And I understand that those topics may come up tonight during discussion. So we're simply here as a resource for you all to help guide discussion should it be necessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
As a point of clarification, Mayor, so are you presenting during the agenda items labeled 2 Hamilton Street and the City of Taunton Joseph Chamberlain Elementary School solar project?
No,
Are you
we're
presenting?
We're simply here as a resource, as subject matter experts. We have our Superintendent of Buildings, who's a subject matter expert on building codes, fire, as well as the actual structure of Chamberlain itself. He's done the assessment on it. Mr. Parent's here as a resource as relation to the solar project at Chamberlain, which was proposed previously. And I am here to talk about any of the financial components, project timelines, should that come up.
Thank you for that
Yep.
clarity. Next up, Mayor, we have, help me out here.
Oh, Matt Parent, so that's the
Matthew
solar
Parent.
project.
Okay, understood. Thank you. That's it for public input. Thank you.
Okay, so next we have the Taunton Public Virtual Academy update.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So last year, at about this time, we were very busy in the planning phase of our Taunton Public Virtual Academy. So I have with us this evening our Principal Elizabeth Rodriguez to provide us with an update on where we are, a little under midway through the school year. I'm very excited on the data and the information and the feedback that we've been receiving regarding our first virtual school here in Taunton. And I think as a school board, you should be proud of the work and the commitment to offering our parents and offering our students another opportunity to engage with highly qualified staff, highly qualified learning programs in order for students to be retained and be maintained here in the city of Taunton. So Mrs. Rodriguez is going to provide you with a quick overview and some of the key highlights, and I plan on having her back at the end of the year to talk about the overall success of the program. So with that, Mrs. Rodriguez, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Superintendent Cabral, members of the school committee. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to talk about this. There's a lot to say, but I'm just going to keep it to the highlights on what's happened so far with our very first single district virtual school. I always start with the mission because it's very important to us to be mission-oriented. I'd just like to point out a couple of things. We do strive to be progressive. We do strive to be innovative. Primary value is trust. And in order to have the continual co-creation that we want with this school, the school needs to continue to be created in an ongoing way to meet the needs of the students that we have. So it's consistent in continual change and growth. What are some of the unique things about Taunton Public Virtual Academy? Well, first of all, it's the very first virtual school option, public school option in Taunton. It's different from the Commonwealth virtual schools in that it has the direct district affiliation, and therefore we have local control. And as a district school, clearly it has a strong alignment to the strategic plan. We also maintain strong communication with the other 2 public high schools, Taunton High School and Taunton Alternative High School. And I think that's important because we're all striving to meet the needs of all of our students in the city. It's also one of only 8 total district operated virtual schools in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's also created to address very, very specific needs. It's not for every student, just a certain profile of a student needs are best met in this virtual school. And there's students who very generally face challenges in just getting into a building in the brick and mortar, but who still have the same potential as any other student. And because we're small and we're focused, we have the ability to individually meet student and family needs because the family is the support of the student, of course. And we're also unique in that our schedule, because we don't need time for arrivals and dismissals, we have an embedded time for social emotional learning. And we start our day with that advisory block, and that's very, very important to us. It's also important to start the day with connections with each other, student to student and staff to student. So what's been the progress so far? Well, in our very first term, our enrollment reached 77% of capacity. We're at 58 students, and we filed with the state and approved by you, the committee, to have a maximum of 75 students, assuming the research that's been done in district schools that it meets the needs of about 1% of all students. So we're at 77% of that just in term one. We're also different in how we progress in that we need to be very, very flexible. We have a small staff, we're not fully staffed, and we have to be committed to what we're doing because there's only a few of us to meet our mission. And we are truly striving every day to meet the mission. I also want to point out that our staff is integrated from a curriculum perspective with all of the adder administrators and content areas to make sure that we are accessing our high-quality curriculum used by the district and that we remain focused on district goals and we're not just out there trying to do something separate. I also want to point out, and you'll see more about this in a moment, that we have overall improved attendance for our students that we currently have. Many of them were previously non-attenders or they had very poor attendance. I also think it's important to note that we maintain strong collaboration with the Taunton High School Guidance Department, and they have a good understanding of what we're trying to do in the virtual school, because very often when they're meeting with students and they see students whose needs are not being met in the best way at Taunton High School, they're able to communicate with us and refer students to us. Just a quick snapshot of who are the students that we have. In terms of racial distribution, I would say it's fairly on par with the distribution of the district. I would be hesitant to say anything more about racial distribution until we increase numbers even further. By gender, I think it's important to note that we have a significant more number of more females than we do males in the school at this time. Just happens to be the reality. Grade distribution is interesting because when we first opened on August 31st, the majority of all of our enrollments were in the lower grades. But we found that once school began and we continued to receive students, we then received quite a few students who are in upperclassmen. I also think it's important to note that a full 45% of our current students have either an IEP or a 504. Students have very specific needs, and most of those IEPs and 504s are for social emotional reasons. And very often, that's what prevents them from being able to get into that brick and mortar building. I think it's also important to note that a fairly high percentage of our students, 67.2% of our students, are socioeconomically disadvantaged. And we can't ignore that because we, in our mission, we do have a commitment to taking a holistic look at all of our children. So looking at where they are from a socioeconomic perspective is also very important to us. And we also work closely with our students. We interview students and their families individually to try to make sure we get a good match for our learning environment. So we're very, very close on an individual basis with our families. Now, this is something that I'm very, very proud to show you. So when I first started using the tools we have in the district to look at our overall attendance, having worked previously in other schools within the district, I was saying, wow, I'd really like to improve our attendance. But then when I took a look at the students that we have, we made a comparison of the overall average of student attendance from last year of these students to this year. And Mr. Cabral maybe can check my math, but I think that's a full 21% increase in attendance, which I was very happy. So if these students were still continuing where they were at, their attendance would likely be much lower, which impacts overall district attendance as well. So what are the challenges that we face? Certainly, there are very specific challenges and other challenges that other schools have within the district. First of all, student engagement every single day, every minute of every day is one of our big challenges. It's probably true of any school in any setting, but if you think about, when you have the student right in front of you, when you're in a live classroom and the students are physically there, that's very different from trying to kind of reach through that computer screen and engage students, especially where our model of virtual learning includes right now a significant asynchronous component where students are just with their Chromebooks and not with a live teacher. So student engagement is something that we're always thinking about. And attendance, of course. We're making good strides with the students that we have, but we want to improve attendance. We want to improve our connections with families and with students. We want to improve our systems of measuring attendance for the full school day. So that's going to continue to be a focus. The third bullet is sort of building the plane while we fly it. We need to codify our processes. Yes, within the district parameters, but we also have some unique challenges, so we need to build those systems while we teach our kids. And staffing continues to be a challenge, as I'm sure you know. It's more difficult right now to hire qualified staff, and we want to make sure that the staff that we choose meet our unique needs, so that continues to be a challenge. I know you have the printouts from this, so I won't read these out loud to all of you, but I did want to include some authentic quotes from our staff. They're talking about working as being exciting, discovering ways, utilizing the unique nature of the school, engaging students, using technology, communicating with students. So just the words, and I didn't prompt them, by the way. They did have me bring these quotes to you. So from a staff perspective, happy staff members are more likely to keep our students happy and work towards keeping them engaged. A lot of people also ask us, well, what's that virtual school like? How do you build a school community if the kids aren't in front of you? So I wanted to give you some examples of just what we've done so far. When we opened, we had a terrific family orientation where families came. And we're going to have another one coming up for semester 2 in January. We had a little celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month together. We invite people into our building. As Mayor O'Connell can attest, we not only participated in the city's Scarecrow Contest, but we did win. That's right. We're very proud of that. We've already done some student volunteering, and actually some parents helped out too at the local soup kitchen, and our students are so excited to continue volunteering. And our guidance counselor, our school counselor, is terrific. She's really keeping all of these things always on her radar to keep the kids engaged. We've also had a recent field trip to Bridgewater State University. We partnered with the Alternative High School for that. We've already had a college night. And the last one is something that we're going to continue to work on. We have what we call a Reconnect Rally. If you think about when you were a kid, if you were doing school at home, maybe someone's with you, maybe not. You've got some classes you need to do online by yourself. It's sometimes difficult if you don't have that, very rigid discipline to keep that going. So we invite students into the building so they can get our support, our encouragement, and just banging out some of that online work. And we hope to continue to do that for individual students and as a group as well, so they can build that community with each other. So as I was preparing for this presentation, I was thinking about, wow, what would people want to know? And I'm thinking, well, what if we didn't exist? What would these families do? So I asked them. I sent a survey to all of our existing students, and I said, well, what would you do? And as you can see from the graph, 46.2% of our students, instead of staying in Taunton and being part of our community, would go to one of the Commonwealth virtual schools. Over 30% would choose homeschooling. And 23% would seek other schools through school choice. So for all the respondents, we would lose those students from our district if we didn't exist. And again, I share some quotes at the survey. I also allowed people to say whatever they want, and I truly had no idea of what the feedback was going to be. Hadn't done this before. And I can tell you that 100% of the quotes were positive, and I've shared some of the key ones. And I think if you look at that top quote, I think that really shows how the team, our small team, is really committed to our mission. Because they're referring to our school as a group. They're not saying this teacher is great or that teacher is great, but we're being presented as the community of the school and the staff. So I do, if you haven't already, I would ask you to please take a look at these quotes. These are what our families and kids are saying. So of course it would be irresponsible of us to say how wonderful and how successful the school is so far and where we want to go despite our challenges. Would be irresponsible if we didn't talk about the financial impact it would have to the district. So right now, what's the financial impact? Right now we have a total enrollment of 58 students. That's the FY23 per pupil that we receive for those students, and we would otherwise lose. We do have contracted services for our online courses through Imagine Ingenuity, and of course fixed costs. But even with our costs, you can see the positive budget impact that we have so far. If we project out just a little bit, if we reach our maximum capacity of 75 students and I hire all of the people I want to have when they become, when they're the right match for us, the budget impact from a positive perspective would continue to grow. So we're being responsible. We don't need a lot, but we're meeting the needs of very specific kinds of students. Where do we want to continue to work for the rest of this year moving into the next school year? We want to get fully staffed. I know that I'm going to have a conversation with Mr. Cabral about sending an amendment to DESE maybe about asking for an increase in our maximum enrollment. We may reach our maximum enrollment at the beginning of second semester. We don't know, but we may. We have to keep that on the radar to think about what we might need to do if there is a greater demand than we anticipated. And we need to continue to systematize our processes because we're still new. And we need to make sure that everything that we do matches our needs, including communication, by the way. Communication is something that we need to continue to work on as well. Want to point out that through our mission, we continue to be focused on our strategic plan. And if you look at our 4 strategic objectives, where we are, I believe, aligned to all of them. So I feel like we're on track. And I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any, if I can answer them.
All right, thank you. Mr. Enos?
Through you, Madam Mayor. My question is, if we get to that maximum number, what's usually the turnaround for, I don't know, permission or granting by DESE?
Not sure. We haven't done it yet. But I know that it's a fairly simple process. We just have to file an amendment. So I don't think it's very cumbersome at all.
Mr. Laura?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Great presentation, very detailed. Question, there are presently, 8 virtual schools in the Commonwealth?
8 single district. Single district. In
Okay.
addition, there are 2 Commonwealth virtual schools, which are different.
Different.
We're one of 8, so there are 7 others.
Right, exactly. Now, as far as you were talking about challenges with student engagement and attendance, so how do you verify who's there, who's paying attention, who's feeding back, who's participating?
That is a great question. So we see engagement from 3 perspectives: from cognitive engagement, how are we challenging them? From behavioral engagement, things that we can observe, how much they're participating, how much they're showing up for the screen, but also from a social emotional perspective. And we can gather data, we already have the ability to gather some of that data through, for example, from an SEL perspective, we have a couple of surveys that we administer. We have the grades, we have attendance, and we're also, through the budget process, we're also hoping to get additional technological tools, simple ones, nothing big, to make sure the kids are actually physically interacting, with us through technology.
And then just along with that question, parents are participating and ensuring that the students are involved, engaged, and reacting to what they're learning?
Yes, that can vary by family, but we're doing our best with our staffing, with our phone calls, with our community liaisons to keep the families engaged. They have opportunity through multiple means of communication to reach us by email. We're working towards using Parent Square so that however the families prefer to communicate with us, they'll have an opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
there's
you,
no
ma'am.
further questions. Superintendent Cabral?
No, just a quick comment. So again, I want to thank Mrs. Rodriguez for her excellent presentation. I also want to commend this committee for your forward thinking to provide our parents and our students with another resource to remain in the Taunton Public Schools and receive a high-quality education. And I just want to share a quick little anecdote. Mrs. Rodriguez, I owe you a visit. I know there's a student that you want me to present a certificate of attendance to, so I will be over before the break. But I also want to share with the committee and the public that word of our success has spread to another school system south of us, where we're going to be visiting that school system and sharing our blueprint so that they can develop and implement a virtual school of their own. So this is something that I think you're going to see more of, and I'm happy that we're at the forefront of this work. So I commend you, and I look forward to signing that request to expand enrollment to the TPVA. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Cabral.
Thank you. All right, and thank you, Principal Rodriguez, and I have to say, when I visited, to give you the trophy for the Scarecrow contest, it was really nice to see some of the students and how engaged they were and motivated they were and how happy they were. So
Yes, thank you.
it's going well. Thank you. Mr. Vieira?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was wondering if this time if we could go out of order, item K, unfinished business, subsection C, City of Taunton, Joseph Chamberlain Elementary School solar project and rooftop replacement.
I would second that motion.
I would suggest C and B because all the same people are here for both of those.
Both items.
Yes.
Which one are we going to talk about first?
Whichever one you want.
We'll go C.
So can you make the motion, though, to go to new business, items C and B?
Sure. I'll amend the motion.
So B and C and L, amend
Thank
the
you.
motion.
Out of order, yes, thank you. Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed, so voted, thank you. Okay, so item C is City of Taunton, Chamberlain Elementary School solar project and roof replacement discussion.
Motion to invite the parties in. Are we
Second.
gonna have anybody coming in to make a presentation?
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none opposed, so voted. So we do have some folks here with us. If you want to come up and all introduce yourselves to answer any questions that folks might have.
Sure. Patrick Delarose, I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the city.
Well,
Matthew Parent, solar consultant.
and maybe,
Chris Carmichael, superintendent of buildings.
thank you. Maybe we start with a quick overview. I don't know
If
what
I
the
may,
wishes
Mayor,
of the
if I may, Mayor,
committee
I was
are.
very clear at the public input portion, if they were here to make a presentation, and the gentleman said that they were here just for support and to answer any questions. So we've gone through this presentation, I don't know how many times, and I think it's just time that we just move on with this subject matter.
Oh, that's fine. I just didn't know if the council wanted a little, the school committee wanted a little refresher. It's
If they-
totally up
if
to you
they-
guys.
If they'd like, absolutely, if they want to make a motion, that's fine.
But if, does somebody want to make a motion on the subject now?
I'll make a motion, if I may. Vote to approve the city's solar roof replacement project for the Joseph Chamberlain Elementary School with the savings from the solar project go back into the elementary school, the Chamberlain Elementary School. So whatever savings come from there go back into the students.
So was that a motion?
That's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
So a motion and second, and if there's any discussion, no discussion, I see.
Any discussion?
We can,
Mr.
Mr.
Fiore?
Fiore?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Well, I think we need to be clear that I think the roof project comes first because we don't know yet how or whether it's going to be desirable to incorporate the solar into it. But clearly, Chamberlain is 20 years old. It does need a new roof. And if we were going to put anything on a rooftop, it would have to be on the newest possible facility. So I think we need to understand that the roof project comes first, and the solar could be worked into it along the way.
Correct. Mr. Vieira?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I know there's been a lot of discussion and dialogue, and we've talked about all the pros, but I really haven't heard much discussion about, the negative or the adverse effects it could have. To Councilman McCall's point, the United States Department of Energy on their website states that they have no clear data of rooftop fires, to support whether it's safe or unsafe. The Titanic was supposed to be an unsinkable ship, but it still sank. So I have concerns about safety. International Fire Journal, September 22nd, 2023, they state that fire concerns have grown and incidents are up sixfold. The National Fire Chiefs Council voiced their worries regarding rooftop solar panels. There's a publication, April 10th, 2023. It was Heather Bellow from the Berkshire Eagle, and she talks about roof and continuous reoccurring fire that happened from faulty installation. She also cited that there were fires that same day in Plainville on a rooftop, in Falmouth, and a big box chain in New Jersey. The paper's called A 50-Foot Blaze. Another publication here from September 1st, 2022. This is Amazon, $1.5 trillion company, one of the biggest companies in the world. They put solar on 47 of their North American locations, and they had fires on 13%. They actually had to take it offline and shut the project down until they could sort it out. So for me, the risk outweighs the gain. So I'll be voting against this tonight, and I would urge my colleagues to do the same. I have no issues with a canopy system in the parking lot, but I absolutely have one, putting them on the roofs of any school. One interruption education, potential trauma to students or staff is just too much for me. So that's my input on it.
Thank you, Ms. Vieira. Mr. Pawlowski?
Thanks. Excuse me. I got a couple of questions. Do we have a clear explanation of how the costs or the benefits of this project would impact net school spending? I don't recall seeing that explanation in any of the presentations.
Either Superintendent Cabral or Mr. Della Russo.
Sure. So solar and roof repairs are not currently part of the net school spending agreement. So if there was going to be any discussion regarding the roof project or the solar project counting towards net school spending, that's per the agreement. That is something that the mayor and the superintendent come to an agreement on through negotiations. And I believe the last time the net school spending agreement was modified, I think was 1993. I was off by 11 years, 2004.
Okay. And the second question was, so how exactly do we pay for the upfront costs?
The city would pay for the upfront cost of this, and to elaborate a little bit on what Mr. Cabral had said, the cost of the system would be $1.7 million, and the savings to the school system would be 3.4. That's a built-in with the 2 to 3% escalator, which, as we know, energy prices are going higher. So the savings, the rate of return, the return on investment would be approximately 10 years, and the school would recognize $3.5 million in direct savings to the students.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Carmichael, did you want to make a comment?
Yes. Good evening. Chris Carmichael, Superintendent of Buildings. Please understand I'm also a certified building official, and I've been a building official in several communities. I've issued permits on hundreds of solars, seen the installs, and been part of numerous arrays. Please understand that these are highly regulated by not only the International Building Code, the Fire Code, but also the Electrical Code. We have more electricity running through this room than some of those solar arrays bring down on the side of the building. As for the concerns about the fire safety, there are requirements for rooftop edges and eaves for the fire department access. One of the biggest things we look for is the shut-off on the side of the buildings, so fire department does not get any shock when they go up on a roof. Please also understand that Chamberlain is just like the E-pole here. It's a type 2A construction, and I'll break that down for you. It's fireproof. And we have sprinklers right in this room here right now. You're only concerned, less than a fraction of 1% chance of having a problem with these solar arrays. So please understand, hundreds of these happen every day. The installs happen. And again, you have a very small reality of electrical current is safe as long as it's an insulated wire and the connections are made properly. So these are all inspected by David Gaglioli, your electrical inspector. And it's a very safe system.
Are they also inspected by our fire department, and did they speak on this?
The fire department was here before to speak on it. I was also here to speak on it. They had no problems with it. And again, some of the occurrences with some of the recent problems have been the batteries that run away. So we're actually proposing to put the batteries separate behind a fireproof wall and have a remote shut off for the fire department. So you won't have a problem.
Thank you.
Question.
Mr. Laura?
So this is a 25-year contract that we're talking about overall?
Sure. So this is the 30-year. It's not like the lease. There's no lease. It's outright ownership. So it's much different than the landfill project that the city got approved, recommended by the mayor recently. So this is ownership. Inside of the ownership, I know people a lot of questions. Oh, who's going to maintain it? That's all part of the agreement, and the purchase price is all included in the RFP. So there's not going to be a need of, what happens if the panel breaks, right? What happens if there's anything that goes wrong? Those guys own it. There's performance bonds to ensure that if they ever went under, we could call that bond in and receive the funds to engage in a new contract with a new company. So the city and the school district are both protected, and where the city is insulated from any liability or damages.
Because my understanding with a lot of these technological companies of solar systems, which I'm for, I'm not against solar energy. However, a lot of these companies fold up within 5 to 10 years, and then the particular items or the pieces that are installed go out of date. They're no longer in existence. You can't obtain the technology or the parts to fix these, and that's one of my major concerns. Now, we've had one presentation here before us, actually two, right? But the fact remains that right now, as I'm reading, state and federal legislation are gearing themselves to giving more incentives to new companies coming in with this sort of energy. And so I think what we should do as a committee is to look at more future potential entities that could come before us, give us a sort of program that is more up-to-date and more suitable for this particular project. So I will be voting against this project tonight.
If I may.
Mr. Pear?
When we do an RFP, there's a level playing field for new companies and companies who are established. And as we did with the landfill project, we'll pick a company that has an established track record on installing rooftop and battery systems. So it won't be someone who's fly-by-night who's going to be gone in 5 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Delano?
Thank you, Mayor. So my understanding is that the return will start kicking in year 10 and beyond. Is that correct?
Yes, but again, the school committee wouldn't be proposing any financial interest whatsoever. The city will be purchasing the system outright.
Okay, and maintenance is done by who again, Mr. Delaware?
It's part of, it will be included in the RFP, so the company will be required to do the maintenance. It will require no additional cost to any city department, neither school nor city side.
Okay. I'm still perplexed at why we're just picking the Chamberlain and not other schools. And my understanding is that we have other schools with the roofs that are about the same age. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I believe But I think it was during the presentation that you weren't able to attend, Dr. Mello, because of your work commitment. But East Taunton Elementary School, that roof, I believe, has been pretty much fully restored, thanks to the
Yes.
building department. And Chamberlain is the next roof in line, and we discussed using Chamberlain. Well, the discussion was to use Chamberlain as a pilot program, and if things go well and all our questions and all our concerns are addressed, then we would discuss future projects. But that roof is also at its near end of life. Then I believe next in line would most likely be Friedman,
That's correct.
based on the age.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you for that. Again, you know, if we're using the Chamberlain as a pilot and, you know, we really don't see a financial return till year 10, are we waiting 10 years before we start on another school?
That's a good question, but the answer is we will continue to do solar projects, just due to the fact right now that there's federal incentives included in this. So a big thing to keep in mind is that 1.7 million is for the cost of solar. The cost of the roof is the difference between the 2.3 million. So we're estimating around 600 all in. Effectively, the roof, we get 40% back from the federal government if it's inclusive with the solar project. So that actually reduces the current net school spending agreement that you have with the city for obvious reasons. One. And two, we're looking at this holistically to reduce energy costs for our wastewater treatment plants next year. That's part of the 5-year CIP that Mayor O'Connell will be rolling out in the coming weeks. So we're looking at this as a real benefit to the city to reduce our costs, to invest into services elsewhere. And I think that the model that was presented is going to help the students and the school system as well, should the committee vote in support of this evening.
Thank you for that. I'm also concerned, as some of my colleagues have pointed out, with the safety of our students and staff and citizens at large. I have, for the record, that will be entering to the record, 7 articles that come from various publications such as the Harvard Business Review and others that clearly state the dark side of solar power as a title. I have a hyperlink here that I will share with my colleagues because the articles, some of them are quite long, that will clearly show that we're not at that stage yet to put our children at risk. And that's where I'm coming from. So the solar canopies that we visited in one school district was only one of many. And the district that we went to go see, the solar canopy district, probably wasn't a good example because I think 50% of it wasn't working. And I heard various different excuses why it wasn't working. Parts were not available, maintenance wasn't kept up on it. The people that are there on the grounds crew don't have any idea how to maintain that, and so forth and so on. So there were other examples out there that we could have probably visited, and we just selected one of the many districts within a 30-mile radius. So I'm definitely opposed to this. I will enter the record 7 articles that show the dangers of solar on roofs, and until I'm convinced that nobody will be at risk of losing a life is when I will vote yes. So right now, I'm definitely not supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fiore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At this point, I don't see a necessity of placing panels on rooftops. I do think we need to be looking in terms of providing solar energy. I mean, Mr. Chairman, you're about to join the board of an electric utility that generates no sustainable energy at all and is looking for new sources. I'd certainly be happy to make some money for the system providing that, but most of our roofs are at least 10 years old and would probably require all kinds of adaptation to even put those up. And we have a lot of land connected with a lot of our schools. We have large parking lots, we have fields, we have recreation areas and so forth. There are plenty of other places we could put solar panels that are less risky than rooftops. And I think we ought to be looking in that direction, because I do think we should be looking at generating solar electricity. I don't think we need to do it on roofs that are at least 10 years old.
Mr. Della Rosa.
So I just want to remind everybody that we had our fire safety officer, Captain Bastos, and our superintendent of buildings have both explained to this committee that these panels are safe, that this is a logical progression for the city to go into green energy. So the statements being made are in direct conflict from the subject matter experts that the city has hired. So, and that protect all the city's buildings all the time. So I just want to make that as part of the record, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And I have a question for Mr., oh, all right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Pulaski. Oh, excuse me.
I remember Captain Bass saying to say there would never be an issue. He wouldn't make that statement because he's a firefighter and he knows that that's not possible. That's how I remembered it.
Mr. Pulaski, did you have something?
Again,
all
you
right,
can never
excuse me,
say
Mr.
never on an
Carmichael.
electrical connection. It depends on the mechanic that puts it together. But as we move forward with the building codes are moving towards mandating that solar panels be allowed on roofs. So they're actually requiring on single-family residential homes a 600 square foot area and a conduit up from the electrical panel to the roof. So as we move towards passive and net zero mandates for energy performance, we will move towards solar as well. So these are going to be required. So these are safe systems. You wouldn't see them on so many rooftops if they weren't.
Mr. Pulaski?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. All right, so I'm just going to kind of get my thoughts out there. So, I mean, we do a lot of work on our buildings and our infrastructure, our roads, our lights, our sewer, everything. I mean, I'm sure there's countless things going on in these buildings that could be unsafe. So we rely on our subject matter experts to do the best they can and do their due diligence and do inspections and approvals and whatnot. Nothing is 0% risk. Nothing's 100% safe, but that's why you have building superintendents and fire chiefs and whatnot. So, I mean, we have heard from these subject matter experts, and I think we have to trust the people that work in our city to do their jobs. Like, I mean, somebody put these lights in, like, how do we know that they're safe? How do we know that the sprinklers work? I mean, I didn't review all those specs, but I assume that someone whose job it was to do that did that. So we go forward. This is a request for proposal, right? This isn't awarding it to one company. This is going to see bids on a plan. So some people give us a proposal and maybe they could be a fly-by-night operation and we wouldn't go that route. And presumably there are people who have been putting these things out, in the world that we would be able to review their work and make informed decisions. So, my thoughts are, I think this is one project of many that would go on in this, city, and we kind of got to rely on subject matter experts to do what they do, and put our faith in them. So it sounds like the primary benefit of this project here is to save money on the roof. If I'm not mistaken, we have to replace the roof anyway. So unless I'm missing something on the financial benefit, we could not do this project at all, and we would need to replace the roof eventually anyway, right? Or we do this project and we can realize savings on the cost of that roof. And I want to, you said 40?
Yes, so you say 40% on that, and you also recognize $3.5 million in energy savings, which you won't have to pay TMLP anymore. You get to pay, move that money back into educating students.
And that's $3.5 million over 30 years?
Over 30 is correct.
Okay. I mean, that's a long time, but I mean, sounds like the upfront cost of the roof is more of the benefit. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think this is like an emergency, like, my God, we have to get solar panels on the roof today, but it sounds like there is an opportunity that, might not be there in the future. And I think the concept of choosing one building to see if it works, to see if there's issues, certainly makes sense. It wouldn't make sense to go forth with something this huge on every building in the city, but trying it out on one place, I think makes sense. So,
Mrs. Fagan?
Well, Mr. Pulaski, I had the opportunity to serve on several building committees, and I've seen a lot of real grandiose plans on those things all go haywire, starting with the gymnasium at Taunton High School, when nobody took the candle power in the gym before they took all the lights out of the gym to put all these new lights in the gym. And when they put the new lights on, it was like you were in a cave. So they had to go back and retoggle everything. That was another change order. I I don't like a lot of the stuff that's going on here. When we went down to Fall River to see the school in Fall River, there was the electric company actually bought the rights to use that roof for solar panels. Nobody in that school had anything to do with doing it, right? We all were up on the roof. Myself, Mrs. Shabs, we went up on the roof, because I'm not afraid to go up on a roof, because I've done it at my own house. But I'm going to tell you something. Nobody in the school had, none of the custodians, nobody that worked for the city or anything. It was the electrical company that was providing all of that stuff for the school. And the reason they were generating money there was because they have one of the more expensive electric companies. We have the TMLP. One of the things they said is, you're probably not going to see these grandiose savings that everybody's talking about because you already save money with the TMLP. I know that I sent my husband down, pay this bill because we saved about $12 the last time, because I said, you know what, $12 is $12. It's still money in my pocket. Being the oldest of 9 kids, I appreciate every dollar I have. So I'm just worried about this, because when we're talking apples and oranges here, if you need a new roof, you need a new roof. It doesn't necessitate that you have to put something on the roof because you're putting a new roof on. So I don't know how this got tied up together, but I know we only went to one, that was the one school we went to, and they already had a different type of a deal. The second place we went, they were out in the parking lots. I had no objection with that stuff either, but I know some of the technology has already gone by the boards with them, and they have a fire there too? Okay. So I'm concerned about it, because years ago, I had solar panels out in my yard, and it's weird how this technology, I don't think it's fine-tuned yet to where it should be. And I'm concerned that all of a sudden, it's going to be like the mess I was in. I couldn't get parts for anything that I had, and it was back in the 80s. And I know you can say it's older technology, but it was advanced technology for the time. We lost the ability to have the thing outside flick on when the sun came up. So we had to go down cellar every day and turn the thing on and off and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden, the parts, it was some company out in California, Marvel Oil did it years ago, and there was a rebate on your taxes if you went and did the solar stuff. We ended up taking the whole thing down. The setup for the tank, the main thing is I have well water, so the thing for the tank was to make sure that you preheated the water before it went into the furnace. But then because I have well water, all my copper pipes kind of got pinholes in them, and like they've done in my house for years now because of the well. So that technology has gone by the boards. I'm just afraid that like the ones I think in Rehoboth, they've already having a problem. You were there, Steve. They say they can't find the parts for them now?
Yeah, they said the company went out of business a year later. They can't find the parts. Half of the systems, the panels aren't working. They can't receive the carbon credits because if the panel isn't working, you can't receive a credit for something that you're not producing. It's more complicated than you sign up and they give you the money. You have to prove that you're producing the product in return, that you're, in accordance with the contract. You're gonna have a look at the contract, but it's a little more complex than, we're gonna give you this and get that in return. That's if a whole bunch of things go
Well,
right.
we're going back and forth now here. Can we keep in the scope, and are you all set, Mrs. Fagan?
Well, I just wanted to say, that's what we were talking about with the people in that school. They have nothing to do with that project. It's all the electric company that's doing it. They're entitled to X amount of, I forgot what it was, Steve, do you remember? There was so much that they were entitled to, whatever the overage was, that went back to the school. But I don't know if we're gonna see those kinds of savings, given that the TMLP is really good to deal with. It just a perspective. We can all have our opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fagan. I think Mr. Delarusso
Yes,
wants
so
to
just-
address that.
Sure, so there's no electric company whatsoever involved with this. This is a self-contained self-storage unit. This is effectively buying a battery to store excess power that's not being used by the city. So there's nothing that's going back into the grid, for instance. So there's no electrical company involvement in a project like this. It's effectively an offset of electrical cost that's directly any excess electricity goes into a battery. That's what we have the battery storage for. So what you're describing is something completely different than what's been proposed effectively. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this is not owned by the electric company, has nothing to do with the electric company. It has zero involvement with the electric company.
Mr. DeMello?
Thank you. I just want to go on record to state that I am all about energy consumption savings, meaning that I favor green energy, whether it be hydro, solar, wind. I'm all about pinching pennies, saving money for Taunton Public Schools, ultimately the taxpayers of Taunton, but I don't like this project for various reasons that I already mentioned. So once again, I want to go on record that I'm all in favor of saving money and I'm all in favor of green energy, but this is not right at the moment for Taunton Public Schools. Jordan Fiore, a very respected school committee member, said earlier, going forward, I will be serving on the TMLP, looking forward to that. I think there's some new vibes that could come into this TMLP going forward regarding solar projects, so hopefully that will be something in the near future we can discuss. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Parent, did you want to?
Yeah, just a quick clarification on your comments about missing parts and finding parts. Part of the operation and maintenance agreement is to make sure that the system is running and the production is going to be there. That's part of the contract, so it's guaranteed to have a certain amount of energy that's coming into the school. So we don't have to worry about that.
Thank you. Mr. Enos?
I'm not a subject matter expert, as people thrown around, but I do have it on my home. I've had it for 10 years, and I can tell you that I don't get electricity bill. So you can say what you want about fires and putting the kids in dangers. My kids grew up in the house. They're alive today. You can call them if you like, but they're here, and it saves money. I can vouch. They've been on my home for 10 years. And it's old technology. I guess what we're getting, it's going to be even newer. So I don't understand why we don't want to explore this and use this as a pilot program to save money for the city, the school department, put the money back into the kids at the Chamberlain School, and move forward. I press the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Enos. So if there's, Superintendent Cabral? Yeah. There is.
Was there a second?
Well, Superintendent wanted to speak, so.
Did you say second, Mr. George?
I did, yes.
Can I just add a comment?
Do you want to withdraw your second? The superintendent wanted to speak.
I'll withdraw.
Thank you.
And again, I see this as becoming an emotional conversation, and I always try to take things from a perspective of being rational and looking at the benefits. So as someone who also, again, per my choice, and I believe everybody has the ability and the will to make their own decisions when it comes to their homes and how they live their life outside this committee. But I also have solar panels and feel very safe going to bed at night with my daughters and my wife in our home based on the features and the functions for our that our solar system provides our family. I believe that, and I appreciate where our members are coming from, but I also believe that if the committee wishes to move forward when the motion is pressed, that we should honor the wishes of the committee and move forward with whatever direction the committee moves forward with and fully support what the group or what is the consensus of this motion. And as someone who has been on the operations side and on the finance side and also serves on the education side of the house, I do believe that this would be beneficial in many ways to the school department. So again, that's just my 2 cents. And as a pilot, we're only going to know whether or not this is advantageous if we try. And if we always wait for everything to be perfect, we're going to miss out on many opportunities. So sometimes we just have to move forward and then make adjustments as we go along.
Thank you. Mr. DeMello?
Thank you. How many buildings does the city of Taunton own? And how many square foot of roofs do we have that are owned by Taunton buildings? Can someone answer that question?
59 buildings is what the city of Taunton has. Square footage, I don't have that.
Does Mr. Carmichael want to say?
65 structures, I don't have the square footage for you.
Okay. So for the superintendent to remark that this is the best thing as far as Taunton is concerned, I don't agree with you, superintendent, because there are other buildings that are out there that we could use this as a satellite type of venture and not put our students at risk in any way.
Could I? Your mic wasn't on, Superintendent.
And again, just from my own personal experience, if I felt like we were putting our students at risk, I would be the first one screaming from the mountaintops that we're not putting our students at risk. But again, I want to say differences aside, because we can obviously see how this is lining up when it comes to the motion. Whatever the decision is of this committee, my expectation is that we will move forward as a group in support of this project, based on the vote that will be taken shortly.
Thank you, Superintendent. And I just have one last question. One of the members said something about not doing this on a roof that's 10 years old or older. Is that an issue, especially when you're actually replacing the rooftop?
So the lifespan of the solar panels is about 20 to 25 years. It was 20, they're coming up to about 25 years. That's absolutely the same lifespan that you'll see out of a roof, whether it's asphalt, rubber, or TPO. So it's beneficial to do them at the same time. Where you'll be doing it on a sloped roof, we'll be putting in an ice and water or rubber bitumen, adhering it to the sheathing, and then any penetration that goes through that will seal automatically. It's beneficial to do the rails, the solar rails, the mounting rails at the same time. Then I get a warranty from the roofer and the solar company. So it's not good to do it on an older roof. We will be doing these only on new roofs as we replace them.
Okay, thank you. All right, so there is a motion on the floor. Mr. Fiore?
I just want to make clear, I will vote in favor of this motion, but it's because I want the work to proceed on a new roof for Chamberlain, and if we were going to do a rooftop panel, I would only want it on Chamberlain, but I'm not voting for this as a system-wide project. I do think we need to be exploring other ways of placing, but we do need a new roof at Chamberlain, and I will support it for that reason.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Fiore. Mr. Enos has a motion on the floor. It has been seconded. Does anyone need the motion restated? So I think we'll do a roll call vote. Mrs. Fagan?
Mr. Laura?
No.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Vieira?
No.
Dr. DeMello, sorry.
No.
Mrs. Fagan votes no. Mr. Fiore?
Yes.
Mr. Enos?
Yes.
Mr. Pawlowski?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes. All right, thank you, everyone. And then the motion was also to take item
B.
KB out of order. So that is 2 Hamilton Street, City of Taunton purchase, transfer of building to the Taunton Public Schools, and authorization of school committee to have the superintendent of schools meet with the mayor or my designee for discussion. Mrs. Fagan?
You didn't make a motion, you just...
No, I just read what was on
Okay,
here.
so I'd like to make a motion that we refer this to the superintendent to set up a meeting to get in touch with you, Mayor O'Connell, and to set up a meeting with us and the city council so we can understand all the ramifications that need to go along with that school, what the plan is for that school, if you have any other data on the school that we might need to see, and if we can do a joint meeting with the city council. Is there
Second.
anything else I need to add to that, Mr. Cabral? You'd be able to do that, set up a meeting with us, because we've had joint meetings before with the city council.
The last time, that based on my research, the last time something like this happened was back on March 4th of 2013, where, based on the presentation that I dug up, there was a recommendation from the school committee to hold a joint meeting between the long-range planning committee and the public property committee, and I believe that meeting was held here. So that has been a practice in the past.
Chairman DeMello?
Thank you, Mayor. So at the 12/5 or December 5th meeting of the City Council, I had requested through Councilor Borgers that the school committee meet with the City Council. At the time, it was an executive session request due to the fact that the agenda had to be listed, the agenda item had to be listed by December 1st for a December 5th meeting. It then came to light that the city closed on the building on December 1st. So the request of the executive session was at the interest, of course, when you talk negotiations and what we want to do with different things, it shouldn't be in the public view because it could jeopardize the transaction. So there was no knowledge on December 1st that the building was already closed on, I believe, on December 1st. Is that correct, Mayor? December 1st was the closing date?
I do not know the closing date.
Was it? Mr. Della Russa, was it December 1st?
So, yeah, so that was announced publicly well before the 1st of December when the closing date was. The vote to transfer the funds happened many weeks before the 1st.
But the transfer of property was on December 1st.
That's when the closing date was, correct. Mr.
Correct,
Demelo.
okay, so we know that many things happen at closing, deals can fall apart and all that stuff. So, just to correct why it was done, because of course, my name was mentioned by 2 city councilors, that I did not have authorization to do that, and I clearly did not have authorization. It wasn't Greg DeMello representing the school committee. It was the school committee with the city council. And the reason, again, once again, it was executive session because the building was not still under the control of the city of Taunton. So I wanted to correct that for the record. Secondly, I think the motion that Mrs. Secretary Fagan is indicating is that we meet as a body, the school committee, with the body of the city council at a future meeting, which I was thinking that January 16 would be ideal. It's 2 weeks into the new session, and that we could come together and have all the questions asked and answered by all the appropriate parties. So if the maker of the motion would kindly amend that to put a date certain on that with both bodies and ask the superintendent to write the letter on our behalf as the school committee to meet, to have
I'll
that
agree to
meeting
that.
for January 16th at City Council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Del Russo, did you want to comment?
Sure, yes, so the request would be most appropriate to have the school committee vote to authorize the superintendent to come before the city council to make a presentation as to what the intended use of the building is. The city owns the building, and I believe at the discussion with our law department would make the most appropriate sense. If we have a public discussion with the school committee, I'm not quite sure what the benefit of that would be. I guess what would be the result of that meeting? We've already purchased the building. It's ours. The city, actually, the council has already voted, in fact, for this building to be of educational use. So it's not so much of, what's the best use of the building. That's already been decided by the city council, respectfully, Mr. DeMello. And I believe the best approach would be to have the superintendent come before the city council. The school committee members could, of course, be in attendance naturally at the public meeting. But that would be the most appropriate item to do, as the council's already voted as this to be an educational facility. So, thank you.
Thank you. Chairman?
Mayor, I have an email from you, Mr. Della Russo, that clearly says the following. Financial component, price is settled at $6 million. How we pay for it is still fluid as we head into the year end. And should the council vote in the first instance to acquire the property, the budget director and myself will ask to be on the July 11, 23 agenda to request the necessary transfer to meet the recommended appropriation. Uses of facility. The use of this facility by all accounts will be to move our PG offices to this location. There is an opportunity to house school administrative offices and potential educational uses, but that must be worked out at a later time. BCC is still on the premise and has a lease which provides $250,000 in annual income. The lease must be looked at by our law department. We have no immediate information. We look to change certain terms inside the lease at some point, but not on day one. And I'll conclude by concerns. Attorney Costa can speak to the legal components of the potential transactions. Mr. Enos will provide the insight to the school committee. The CFO will provide negotiating, starting and ending points, and offer other programs discussed with PCPG. And lastly, CFO can comment on $6 million not being applied to other projects and timing of the funding. So I bring that up because in part of your concern, you had delegated Mr. Enos to be the voice to the school committee, which he was not authorized to do either. So the rules have to be the same for both bodies. Sure. And the motion that my colleagues just put on the floor will be up for vote very shortly. Thank you.
Mr. Del Russo?
So that was a very fluid time. That was in July, right? Discussions happened, and we had an executive session with the city council, which the purpose was, again, voted, Mr. DeMello, to become an educational facility. So that was the vote. The email that I sent was initially our first, again, we have an opportunity, right? We don't know what we can even do with the building yet, right? But we have to have some sort of an idea, some sort of a vision. And that vision was fluid. It was fluid during the entire process. As far as Mr. Enos is a member of the committee, and you guys all talk, one-on-one all the time. He could to more or less provide just sort of a heads up. Obviously, the decision was made, the money was put forward by the mayor, approved by the council, and again, the municipal council makes the determination of use of facilities in the city. They determined that use to be educational. So, sorry if your recollection is different than mine, but the facts are the facts. The vote has occurred.
May I respond, Mayor? The recollection is here in black and white, so I'm not making this up. And secondly, you keep talking about educational component, but not one conversation has been had with this school committee about the educational component that we need it for. And it's now been 6 months since this occurred. So the motion is on the floor for the body of the school committee to meet with the body of the city council at a date certain of January 16. Is that correct, Secretary Fahey?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I just want to touch on that for one moment, because just to reiterate what Mr. Della Russo said, you know, it is an email, it is in black and white, absolutely, but it was at the very beginning of this process when we were trying to kind of figure this whole thing out, and now we're at a place where we have, and you know, certain uses have been determined, and the building does have to be used for those particular purposes. My question is, I mean, what does one mean by a joint meeting? You know, generally, you know, what we have kind of thought about was, you know, Superintendent Cabral, you know, has vision. I think probably is thinking about potential uses of the school, and you know, everybody wants to hear what those are. That would be presented to City Council, and the school committee would, of course, be there. So I'm not sure the term joint meeting makes sense to me, but presentation.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely.
I can answer that, Mayor. So the visions, we've had many visions. We've talked about the nursing home to be a facility for Taunton Public Schools. We've talked about converting the third floor space at Cohana School to be administrative offices and relieve space here at E. Post School. We've talked about, what else have we talked about? The Hopewell School, putting that over and finding out that it's in total disrepair 11 years, 12 years later, and it's going to cost us, I don't know how many millions of dollars to put that back into use. So there's many grandiose visions and ideas and thoughts to make things happen. This is full transparency, man. This is all it is. We need to know where we're at with the school and what we need to do with the school as a school committee, as a body, because ultimately we control the budget of the schools. I think that's one of our duties.
I think that's what I just expressed, that it would be, you know, a meeting that we hear things from the superintendent and the school committee. Mr. Vieira?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the main reason why we'd want to be there is because the process to this point, with all due respect, Mr. Della Russo, it's lacked information to us and it's lacked transparency. Those are the two most basic things.
I disagree with that.
Where's the
but-
lack of transparency? I'm sorry.
There was no information. They closed on the building, and the response was, we didn't know we closed on the building. I mean, it's pretty
The
simple.
city?
Yeah.
Yeah, the city can close on a building.
Yeah, that's fine. And Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 43, I'm not a lawyer, so we should get one to read it. Chapter 43, Section 34. No site for a school building shall be acquired by the city unless the approval of the site by the school committee is first obtained. No plans for the construction of or an alteration of a school building shall be accepted. No work shall be begin on the construction or alteration of a school building unless approval of the school committee and the mayor under plans A, B, C, or F, or with the approval of the school committee and the city manager under plans D and A. The mayor or in the city under Plan D area, the city manager shall notify the school committee in writing prior to or at the time of each change in plans after the work begins. This section shall not require approval under making of ordinary repairs. So, again, it seems like there's rules under Mass General Law, and that's what I'm talking about when I say there's been a lack of information and transparency in the process, so.
So that's, so I can
Mr.
speak
Della
to that. So again, we didn't acquire the building for a specific, to be transferred immediately to Taunton Public Schools. We purchased the building for future educational use. That was the letter, that's the statement of uniqueness, which was followed under Chapter 30B. So every legal requirement was done, Mr. Vieira. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Enos?
Keep in mind, in order for the school department to acquire this property, you just can't go to the school department, to the city council and say, it's yours. You have to make a motion saying that you would like the city council to turn it over to you. So you can't have joint meetings to accomplish the same thing. In order to get out of here, you have to say, make a motion similar to requesting the transfer of the Hamilton Street property into custody of the Taunton School Department from the city council. If you pass that, then it goes to city council. City council could say no. So they don't have to agree with this. It's still their vote. But in order to get to there, you have to get out of here. That's all I have to say.
Superintendent.
And we never got to, I shared the vision, but we never got to discuss the vision in the proposal that we presented for long-range planning. Because of some concerns regarding the email that Dr. DeMello referenced. So we did have a system, a process that we were going to follow as a school committee to present the vision, the plan that I put together, to share with the long-range planning, to discuss several proposals with the long-range planning committee, then bring it to the school committee for their approval, and then once approved, then we would make the request to go before the city council to discuss the future use of that building. But at that time, we were discussing the purchase of the building by the school department. But for whatever reason, my memory may be wrong, it was tabled, or the vote never happened, and the city decided to purchase the building for educational purposes. So again, emotions aside, process aside, we have an opportunity to work collaboratively to do something that will benefit the students and benefit our staff and benefit the community. So again, if it's something that the committee wants to authorize me to do individually, and then come back and report with no votes taken, no promises taken, so that you feel comfortable about the process, we can do that. If we want to have a long-range planning committee with the public property committee like we did back in 2013 on March 4th, we can do that just for discussions, and then we can do our work for the process, so everyone's happy, and then we can go to city council and make the request, and hopefully they'll approve it. But again, folks, we have an opportunity. We just spent $65 million on an elementary school, 120,000 square feet. And we have an opportunity to acquire a building, 50 years old, that was occupied with about 400 plus students, in its heyday with 800 plus students, and that would probably still be open if it wasn't for COVID. So I think we should explore this opportunity, because these opportunities don't happen very often, and financially we're in a unique position to benefit from this and still maintain financial stabilization. So again, emotions aside, let's think long-term about what's best for this committee and best for this community. Again, committee, school department, and this community. I really don't worry about the other side of the house.
Thank you. Chairman DeMello.
For the record, I never said that I did not want the Coyle Cassidy School, also known as 2 Hamilton Street. As a matter of fact, when it was announced that the city had a purchase and sales agreement, I said, congratulations, good luck. So, again, the motion is on the floor. It is nothing precluding the superintendent from being at this meeting, which I expect him to be at. It's full transparency for 2 bodies that are talking about a $6 million price tag with many millions to follow to make improvements and bring it up to code and deal with different issues that are existing there right now that have been identified already. It's full transparency. And then by January 16th, we as a school committee are meeting on January 3rd. We can put this on the agenda to discuss what we need to ask at the January 16 meeting at City Council chambers. That's all we're asking for, Superintendent, nothing else. And we have a motion on the floor, Mayor. Thank you.
We do. So there was a motion, there was a second. Superintendent, did you have anything else? Do you have some specific recommendations, or are you all set?
No, again, I just think we need to think long-term and think long and hard, and whatever's happened in the past is in the past. We need to look forward and think about what's the best use of this facility and the best use for the school committee, and how to, if there is a purpose, which I believe there is a purpose. I've shared with all of you for the last 3 years that there is a purpose, and I can definitely see a need. So let's work together within this group before we have to take the next steps with our partners on the city side.
And then could we, sure.
So, once again, we are moving in that direction. That's why we're talking about this today, so that we can formulate an educated, informed plan to our counterparts on the city side. I think we're a community. I mean, the kids that some city councils have kids in the schools. It's not like we don't want to make this happen for the citizens of Taunton, especially for our students. So it's, once again, it's nothing that we are avoiding. We're trying to get to the right place in full transparency and finally come together as two bodies to make this happen. That's all it is, nothing else.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing, but saying it different ways. Whether you authorize me or we do it as a committee, I just want to move forward.
Mr. Superintendent, I don't want to authorize you. We are a school committee, we work as a body, and that's the way we should approach it. Mrs. Fagan has made a motion.
And the only piece I want to end with is, again, as a team, whatever the consensus is, if we meet as two separate bodies, city and school, wonderful. Whether it's me, wonderful. And I come back and report. I just want to make sure that this committee has the foresight to continue the work that we need to do in the best interest of the school department. We're saying the same thing. I just want you guys to tell me what the process is going to be. Is it going to be a meeting with a joint council and school committee, or is it going to be individual? But I think we need to have these discussions.
Press the motion.
The
Mr. DeMello.
The meeting of January 3rd will have two new members. We will come together as a body on January 3rd to formulate the discussion for January 16th. That's what this is all about. Nothing else, Mr. Superintendent. I value your expertise and your role, but this is something that the entire body should collectively come together and discuss with our counterparts on the city council. That's all it is. No.
Thank you. Mr. Pulowski.
Could we hear the motion again?
Mrs. Fagan, would you be able to repeat the motion?
Luckily, Mrs. Lasser have it. You have it all down.
The motion was made by Mrs. Fagan to set up a meeting with the body of the city council, Mr. Cabral would be present, and also the body of the school committee, in a joint meeting to discuss the purchase and transfer of the property to Hamilton Street with an amended motion to add a date of January 3rd agenda and discussion on January 16th.
Correct.
All right, so there's a motion, there's a second.
Yes. Point of order.
Mr. Dela Russo?
Yes, the purchase has already been done, so I believe the purchase should be struck from the motion. The purchase has already happened, so I believe the purchase should be struck from the motion.
Okay, so, everybody's clear on the motion? Do we need a roll call?
Yep.
Roll call, please, Mrs. Fagan.
Mr. Laura,
Yes.
Mr. George,
Yes.
Mr. Viera,
Yes.
Chairman DeMello.
Yes.
Mrs. Fagan votes yes. Mr. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Enos,
I'm gonna vote yes for it, but I just think you're not doing it in the proper way in order to get a decision by the council. But I'll vote yes, but you'll end up back there.
Mr. Pulowski.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay.
Motion to
Can we
go
get-
back to the regular order of business.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Not opposed, so voted. So we are be in a brief recess.
Yeah, motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Not opposed, so voted. Thank you.
Motion to come back to the regular order of business would be in order. Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, we have item F, evaluation of the superintendent of schools, C enclosure. So give me just a second so I can get my paperwork here in order. Oh, boy. Mr. Superintendent, where's the, Ms. Lasser, please let the record show that Mr. Enos is now absent and the mayor is now absent, please. Where is the rubric?
Is that what you need?
Thank you. Sorry about that. So, as we discussed on the Wednesday, December 6th meeting of 2023, the evaluation of the superintendent of public schools is done in public session, the airwaves of the Taunton cable network. And the overview of the process is as follows. As a group, we will discuss each of the 4 categories. As a group, for every category, we will discuss each expectation, determine overall rating, which are exemplary, proficient, needs improvement, unsatisfactory. The school committee secretary will take notes and create one comprehensive evaluation. This individual will collaborate with the Taunton School Committee chairperson and secretary, and a final draft be submitted to the Taunton School Committee for review and approval. So as we've done in the past, thank you, Superintendent, you all have your rubric that I'm sure you've all filled in. Also, if you have any paperwork that you'd like to submit, we can also take that at the conclusion of the evaluation. But I guess I'll start for the first rubric on my right with Mr. Pawlowski, and then on the second with Mr. Laura, and go back and forth. So, yes, Secretary?
I don't have a draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they're all, I need to shot everybody's. Oh, I thought we just.
Well, we're gonna submit these all to you anyway at the end.
So you'll have everybody's comment.
Right, we're gonna submit them all in.
Okay, so, Mr. Pawlowski, yes.
Are we gonna go through, you know, like the entire section 1?
Yeah.
Or are we doing one section at a time?
So right now, we're doing the superintendent's performance rating for standard 1, instructional leadership, and you will take care of 1A through 1F, and an overall rating would be recorded by the secretary.
Got it, got it. Okay, so I think here, number 1 curriculum, number 1 curriculum, I put that down as exemplary. I think the supporting evidence is we were very recently recognized by Commissioner Riley and DESE, and they literally called us out as like a model district in implementing new curriculum such as Open SciEd. So the work that you and your team have done in implementing high quality instructional materials and inquiry-based learning, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of pre-thought. So I'm proud of the work that you've done. So exemplary on that. Instruction, assessment, evaluation, data-informed decision-making. I got proficient on all of those. And in fact, actually, to be real, data-informed decision-making, I think that's actually exemplary. You and all of your principals, when they come and give the school improvement plans, preponderance of data, you guys are making data-informed decisions all the time for the benefit of our children. So E, I'm going exemplary. And then student learning, I got proficient in there as well. So I guess the overall rating would be proficient.
Excuse me.
Proficient was the overall rating.
Could you just tell me, just go in order?
Sure.
Mr. Pawlowski, and I'll just, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so I'll know which one it was. So you had,
I had
A was E,
A was E,
and then what was the next one?
and then E was E. And then the rest were E is E.
No, just go.
All right, sorry. E, P, 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 E, P.
Gotcha.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Pawlowski. Mr. Fiore?
Okay, I went P, 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 E, P. Yes, I put data-informed decision-making as exemplary because the 8 years he spent behind closed doors in the business office really show out when it comes to statistical matters. And I probably haven't rated him as high as I have in the past, only because my expectations have become so great because of how he's performed. I think he's been a good superintendent, but I've been putting proficient rather than exemplary just because he's kind of raised the bar.
Okay, so what, you said P, 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 E, P, there's 6 of them.
Yes.
Am I missing something?
And the overall, Mr. Fiore?
P.
overall is P.
So could you run that by me again, because there's 6 here, and I only
Okay.
have 5.
P, P, P,
Yeah,
P, E, P.
okay, that's what I know, okay. And overall, you're given
A P.
all right. So I have, on mine. Excuse
Your
me.
microphone.
I'm sorry. So on mine, I have the first one, I'll just put the number, I have P, P, E, P, E, E.
B, E, P.
And
Okay.
overall?
Overall P.
I guess that's, they're split even. I have three of one and 3 of another.
Air up.
Huh?
Go up.
Go up,
That's-
okay.
That's fine.
E. What?
When they go low, we go high.
Whatever.
Thank you, Mrs. Fagan. I'll go next. For 1A, I have proficient. 1B, proficient. 1C, proficient. 1D, proficient. 1E, exemplary. 1F, proficient. Overall, proficient. And I'm just going to read a quick statement, which I will pass into the secretary. Reflecting upon my 22 evaluation, I feel that Superintendent Cabral has performed within the DESE guidelines and recommendations post-pandemic. I believe that he and we as a school committee, as a body, learned so much, and the experience has only helped us improve curriculum instruction for every student. I would hope that moving forward, we learn from the past, act in the now, while understanding our future path. I also believe that Superintendent's strategic plan will help guide the district. This is work in progress. I also need to understand why curriculum is not uniform and so diverse among schools and grade levels. For months, the district has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars from different vendors, and I'm still struggling with the benefit or ROI in this diverse purchasing practice. And in parentheses, this was asked in 2021, 2022 evaluations, and I'm not sure I have the answers. Mr. Vieira.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For 1A curriculum, I have proficient, 1B instruction, proficient, 1C assessment, proficient, 1D evaluation, proficient, E, data-informed decision-making, exemplary, F, student learning, proficient, overall, proficient. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vieira. Mr. George.
1A curriculum, I have exemplary. 1B instruction, I have proficient. 1C assessment, proficient. 1D evaluation, proficient. 1E data-informed decision-making, exemplary. 1F student learning, proficient, and overall proficient.
Thank you, Mr. George. Mr. Laura.
1A proficient, 1B proficient, 1C proficient, 1D proficient, 1E exemplary, 1F proficient. Overall proficient.
Thank you.
Superintendent Cabral continues to promote educational leadership in a very proficient manner. He interacts with school committee members, administrators, and staff, able to ensure that the overall vision, policies, and procedures are administered in an effective manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laura. So since we're starting on your end again, you're up. The next one is the superintendent's performance rating for Standard 2, Management and Operations. I'll read the headings. 2A is Environment, 2B, Human Resources Management and Development, 2C, Scheduling and Management Information Systems, 2D, Law, Ethics, and Policies, 2E, Fiscal Systems. Mr. Laura?
On 2A proficient, 2B proficient, 2C proficient, 2D proficient, and 2E proficient, overall proficient. Superintendent Cabral utilizes his management skills in a proficient manner and promotes a cohesive approach in allocation of operational systems to address a full range of safety, health, and emotional and social needs to promote a healthy learning environment. He complies and understands both state and federal laws and ensures that the school policies are within the proper state and federal guidelines. He's familiar with collective bargaining agreements and with ethical guidelines.
Thank you, Mr. Laura. Mr. George?
2A, Environment, I have exemplary. 2B, Human Resources Management and Development, I have proficient. 2C, Scheduling and Management Information Systems, I have exemplary. 2D, Law, Ethics, and Policies, exemplary. 2E, Fiscal Systems, exemplary, and overall exemplary.
Overall exemplary?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. George. Mr. Vieira?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2A, proficient. 2B, proficient. 2C, proficient. 2D, proficient. And 2E, proficient. Overall rating for Standard 2, Management and Operations, have an overall rating of proficient. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vieira. Secretary Fagan for 2A, exemplary. 2B, needs improvement. 2C, proficient. 2D, exemplary. 2E, exemplary. Overall, proficient. And I do have a statement. Although restructuring the human resource management area, I'm sure will help in the future, an improvement in recruitment and retention is essential. A review of applicants in a timely manner, communications throughout the hiring process is, I believe, critical to candidate interaction. This has not improved since the prior evaluation. Thank you. Secretary Fagan.
Mr. DeMello, could
Yep.
you repeat that? Is it E-N?
2A is exemplary, 2B needs improvement, 2C proficient, 2D exemplary, 2E exemplary, overall proficient.
Okay.
You ready to report, Mrs. Fagan?
Yep.
Thank you.
So I have 2A, exemplary, 2B, needs improvement, and then the next three are all exemplary. Exemplary, I guess.
Overall exemplary. Thank you. Mr. Fiore?
Thank you. For 2A, proficient, 2B, proficient, 2C, proficient, 2D, proficient, and 2E, exemplary. Overall, proficient. I will say that Mr. Cabral's actual work in most of these areas is really exemplary, but because of various market forces, the results aren't quite what we would like. Again, not his fault, but it is a fault of society, and so I have to grade based on results. And I think he's done exemplary work, particularly in human resources and management and information systems, but the problem is the personnel market is tough right now.
Thank you, Mr. Fiore. Mr. Pawlowski?
Thank you. Environment, I have proficient. Human Resources Management and Development, I have proficient, but I would like to highlight, as Dr. DeMello said, I think this is something that we all called out as something that needs improvement over the past couple of years, and I think, as Mr. Fiore put it, the environment out there shows how critical this is. So I think recruiting, hiring, induction, development, and career growth of your staff, it's always going to be an important thing. So it's always going to be a continuous improvement. But I have seen that you and your staff have been putting a lot of work into that. And I'm particularly interested in the development piece. You have a lot of really talented people, all throughout your administration and your staff and your schools, as we get to see when your principals come to give their presentations on the school improvement plans. I'd like to maybe this school committee see more of the work that you're doing to develop your leaders throughout the district. I think you're doing an excellent job, kind of like leading by example. I'd like to see how you lead, like in a coaching fashion, and I think the work that you're doing with your residencies at the schools, I think that's a golden opportunity for you to do that. You're in there, boots on the ground with your people, seeing what they're working with, and you can give them, your perspective. So that's what I'm looking forward to see over the next couple of years. Scheduling and management, information systems, proficient. Law, ethics, policies, proficient. And then fiscal systems, I've got exemplary on that, and I can tell you, the longer I'm on this school committee and I see the way the budget process works, I'm actually more and more impressed of the work that yourself and your team does, building the budget, executing our vision, and getting the best out of the funds that are available to us, in forward thinking of where that stuff goes, as as ESSER funds phase out and we have to figure out how to put things into the normal budget. You and your team, you've had a lot of forethought on that, and you're really always utilizing our funds to the best use and the best advantage to our students. So I truly appreciate that. So overall, proficient.
Thank you, Ms. Pawlski. Coming back to you. The next one is Superintendent's Performance Rating for Standard 3, Family and Community Engagement. Mr. Pawlski.
So engagement, proficient. Sharing responsibility, proficient. Communication, proficient. And again, I think communication, it's kind of the most important thing, and this is something we talk about all the time, and I definitely see that you and your team are utilizing different methods, trying to reach out to people in various different ways. I truly appreciate that. Not everybody has the same opportunity to engage, so I appreciate that you're looking at different ways, sending out surveys, having the community meetings at different times. It's great. I'd certainly like to see improvements in the website, which I hope we will see coming soon, but overall, proficient. Family concerns, proficient, so with an overall rating of proficient. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pawlski. Mr. Fury.
Oops, hang on one second.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I missed the last one. I was in the next page on you.
Could you repeat it, Mr. Pawlski?
I have PPP. Was the last one a P also?
It was, P okay. Across the board.
All right, thank you.
So 4 Ps and overall P. Mr. Fury.
Okay, for engagement, P. Sharing responsibility, P. Communication, P. Family concerns, P. And overall rating, P. Let me say this represents an improvement because while I think Mr. Cabral has always endeavored in these areas, he wasn't well received his first couple of years on the job. That's really the fault of the constituency more than his, but unfortunately we have to grade based on results. But I'm seeing a great improvement in terms of how the school department relates to people, and I'm pleased to call him proficient in all these areas.
Thank you, Mr. Fury. Secretary Fagan?
Okay, I got engagement, E. Sharing responsibility, E. And the next two are both P's, communication and family concerns. Overall, E.
Overall, E. Thank you, Mrs.
They
Fagan.
said to go up, I'm going up.
That's fine, it's your evaluation, thank you. For engagement, I have exemplary. For sharing responsibility, I have proficient. For communication, I have proficient. And for family concerns, I have proficient. Overall, proficient. And my short statement on this one is, in my observation, I have noticed that sometimes too much communication does not necessarily deliver the message that needs to be communicated. A streamlined and unified message delivered via many communications channels is critical. And I quote exactly what I stated in 2021 and 2022. And now that we have a new person charged with communications of the district, like my colleague in seat number 1, Mr. Pawlski, the website could definitely use an overhaul and quickly, along with our athletics page that is useless. I hate to say that because you can never get scores until you have to go to the MIAA to get the actual scores the next day. So anyway, hopefully with this new person that we just hired, that will be improved for the next evaluation. Thank you. Did you get that, Mrs. Fagan?
I think so, EPPP.
EPPP?
Got it.
Correct. Mr. Vieira.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For A, engagement, exemplary. B, sharing responsibilities, proficient. C, communications, proficient. family concerns, proficient, overall rating of proficient. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vieira. Mr. George?
Yes, thank you. 3A, engagement, I have proficient. 3B, sharing responsibility, I have proficient. 3C, communication, I have exemplary. 3D, family concerns, I have proficient, and overall proficient. And a comment I would just like to say is, I admire for Mr. Cabral for his ability to address family concerns case by case, school and district-wide, and also improving constant communication with students and families by adopting Parent Square and, looking into different systems in place that overall will improve. Not always well-received, but I think it takes trying different things to get the best results, and just making sure that we're constantly working on cultural proficient communication and making sure that all our students have access to that. But overall, I have proficient.
Thank you, Mr. George. Mr. Laura?
On 3A, engagement, proficient. 3B, sharing responsibility is proficient. 3C, communication, exemplary. 3D, family concerns, proficient. Overall proficient. Statement: Superintendent Cabral continues to promote the learning and growth of all students and staff throughout our community. He engages in regular 2A culturally proficient communication with families and stockholders to support student learning. He addresses family and community concerns in an equitable, effective, and efficient manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laura. As we conclude with the
You're on deck again.
with the fourth performance rating, superintendent's performance rating for standard number 4, professional culture. Mr. Laura?
On 4A, commitment to high standards, proficient. On 4B, cultural proficiency, exemplary. On 4C, communication, proficient. 4D, proficient. 4F, proficient. Of 4E, I'm sorry, 4E, proficient. And 4F, proficient. Overall proficient. Statement: Superintendent Cabral has a commitment to high standards which he fosters in a positive learning environment with high expectations for achievement for all. He demonstrates strong interpersonal and verbal communication skills to ensure that policies and practices allow staff and students to interact effectively in a culturally diverse environment, allowing students with different backgrounds, identities, strengths, and challenges to be respected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laura. Mr. George?
Yes, thank you. 4A, commitment to high standards, exemplary. 4B, cultural proficiency, proficient. 4C, communication, exemplary. 4D, continuous learning, proficient. 4E, shared vision, proficient. 4F, managing conflict, exemplary. And an overall exemplary. And the comment I would like to just relay is, I believe Mr. Cabral leads by example as he strives to meet high standards for himself as a leader and for the district as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. George. Mr. Vieira?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For A, commitment to high standards, proficient. B, cultural proficiency, proficient. Communication, proficient. D, continuous learning, proficient. E, shared vision, proficient. F, managing conflict, proficient. Overall rating for standard 4, proficient. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vieira. For commitment to high standards, 4A, exemplary. Cultural proficiency, 4B, exemplary. Communication, 4C, proficient. 4D, continuous learning, exemplary. 4E, shared vision, exemplary. 4F, managing conflict, needs improvement. Overall rating, I have Mr. Pawlowski, I have a proficient/exemplary. Exemplary.
See?
Exemplary is the overall rating, and my only comment is regarding 4C, which is communication, and it simply states, please see performance rating number 3. Thank you. Secretary Fagan?
Yep. So, for standard A, I have exemplary. The next one is exemplary. The next one's exemplary. The next one's exemplary. The next one's exemplary, and I have proficient on the last one.
Managing
And
conflict?
that's definitely exemplary.
Exemplary for overall rating.
Right.
Thank you, Secretary Fagan.
You're welcome.
Mr. Fiore?
For high standards, I put proficient. For cultural proficiency, I put proficient. Communication, proficient. Continuous learning, proficient. Shared vision, proficient. Managing conflict, proficient. And overall rating, proficient. I think in Mr. Cabral, we have a consummate professional and a textbook superintendent, and the trains run on time.
Thank you, Mr. Fiore. Mr. Pawlowski, are you on this train?
I think unfortunately,
If you want, get off.
I've only heard the trains
At
run
least you're
on
in the
time in
caboose.
reference to
At least you're in the
Mussolini, so I don't know
caboose.
if that
This is
was.
the Polar Express.
Okay.
You're up.
So commitment to high standards, I have that as exemplary. I think Mr. Cabral, in his words and his actions, makes it very clear that he has very high standards for his administration, his staff, and most importantly, the students within this district. And I think starting with high standards allows you to achieve everything after that. So I do truly appreciate that about Mr. Cabral. Cultural proficiency, proficient. Communication, proficient. Continuous learning, proficient. Shared vision, proficient. Managing conflict, proficient. And an overall rating of proficient.
Thank you, Mr. Pawlowski. Secretary Fagan, are you clear on the evaluation rubric?
Yeah, except I'm missing a member.
Or you're missing a member? Okay. Well, nothing we can do about that.
One extra thing, I forgot. I did not want to make individual comments. If you just indulge me this thing, do you mind if I read it?
Sure.
All right. So, Mr. Cabral, this is what I wrote for you. I don't think there is a more trying and difficult job than being a superintendent of schools. More and more demands are placed on schools aside from providing an education. We deal with numerous societal issues, changing norms and beliefs, and societal pressures. Mr. Cabral is the captain of a ship that could capsize at any time. I do not always agree with his methodologies, but I am impressed with his thoughtfulness, caring, and his dedication to the Taunton Public Schools, and I applaud his efforts.
Thank you, Secretary Fagan. At this time, this concludes the evaluation of the
Can we
superintendent.
submit them all to the secretary?
I will get there, Mr. Laura, one second.
you.
So any written documents that you want to submit tonight, you can do that tonight, or you can send it via email to myself and Secretary Fagan, and then Secretary Fagan and I will
I can
meet.
take him. I don't think poor Mrs. Lester needs this.
No, it's going to us, Secretary Fagan. And then we will meet together and compile the overall evaluation. If you don't want to turn it in tonight, you can always email it to us, but please email it to us by week's end, so we have time over the next week or so, with the holidays in between, that we can meet, and I have some time off, that we can get this done. Good? Clear? Thank you. Do we allow for your comment this time, or would you like to comment?
Yeah.
Superintendent, if you'd like to make a comment?
It's always awkward to have your evaluation done in public, but it's also very humbling. So again, I'm never satisfied. You can blame my mother for that, for always saying it's never good enough. So while I'm superintendent of Taunton Public Schools, it'll never be good enough, because I always believe that we can be better, and we will be better. So as long as I'm superintendent of Taunton Public Schools, I'm going to keep pushing and continuously be a warm demander of the people that I surround myself with to do the best, the very, very best that we can for this school department and for this community, in which I am honored to have my students attending Taunton High School as well.
Thank you, Superintendent Cabral. Moving on, Mrs. Fagan.
I'm sorry, I was just curious if you took any of the notes from what people said?
I didn't take notes of what they said, it's the reading.
We get the
Oh, just the
transcription. We get the transcription.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, item G, Superintendent's Report, C enclosure, Superintendent Cabral.
So as I've done in the past, I'm just going to give you some quick highlights versus reading verbatim my superintendent's report. So the first item is the appointment of Dr. Linda Watt. Dr. Linda Watt is the first ever Director of Student Counseling and Therapeutic Support to the Taunton Public Schools. This highlights her role in developing and implementing an integrated non-academic skills program and strengthening social and emotional learning and mental health supports throughout the Taunton Public Schools, pre-K through 12. Dr. Watt has 10-plus years of experience in the Taunton Public Schools as a school psychologist, and her involvement in grant writing, as well as involvement in grant writing and social and emotional initiatives. I also want to emphasize that she has a strong background in psychology, counseling, and also has extensive experience with the Department of Youth Services. And she's also nationally recognized as a trainer and adjunct professor at Northeastern University. I'm very excited to announce in my next item that we are taking a step forward and that we'll be piloting a DocuSign in the Special Education Department with the IEP process, and if successful, we plan to roll that out throughout all our forms in the Taunton Public Schools. So as a parent, I dread the first couple days of school because the kids come home with all that paperwork and there's a lot of redundancy, so I'm hoping moving forward with DocuSign will make it a more efficient process for parents when it comes to completing all those forms as well as enrolling students into the Taunton Public Schools. Next but not least, we always talk about the amazing athletic achievements of our student athletes and our teams, but what you also often don't hear about is the adults behind the scenes and all their hard work. So we had a clean sweep. So the Massachusetts Secondary Schools Athletic Directors Association, the MSSADA, recognized Athletic Director Mark Ottavianelli, Administrative Assistant Sandra Altman, and Head Trainer Christine Kerr for their outstanding efforts to support the athletic programs in the Taunton Public Schools. So it's not often that you see 3 individuals from one school system, so this is quite the honor for the Taunton Public Schools and a testament to all the hard work that goes into place to making us a well-respected, well-renowned, comprehensive school system. And last but not, actually 2 more quick items. Very proud of this. I think Mr. Ottavianelli shared during his athletic presentation that we launched a class at Taunton High School to prepare students to be officials, but we actually had an ex-NBA official with 18 years of experience run a clinic at Taunton High School. The gentleman's name is Gary Zielinski. Again, he oversees a sports officiating class at the highest level with NBA officials, and he was here in our own backyard providing the kids with a lesson. So great experience for our kids. And Mr. Ottavianelli also mentioned that our students that are officiating in various leagues are receiving outstanding report cards, outstanding grades from those in the league based on how the kids are performing. So again, a testament to you for having the vision, supporting a vision, and letting us do what we do best, which is support and educate our kids. As you know, I sit as a board member on South Coast Educational Collaborative. The South Coast Educational Collaborative hosts an annual event called the Francis W. Galashaw Junior Memorial Award for Academic Excellence. As the first urban school in the collaborative, we have 2 high schools that are recognized, or 2 high schools that recognize students for their significant, outstanding academic achievement as well as achievement outside of the classroom. So from Taunton High School, I am proud and honored to state that Liam Scully received the Francis Galashaw Memorial Award on behalf of Taunton High School, and Lady Yana Martinez also received the award on behalf of Taunton Alternative High School. So it was a great event. Our principals got to speak on behalf of the kids. I got to introduce the principals. And what was also nice is that we had 3 urban schools that are now part of the collaborative: Fall River, New Bedford, and Taunton. And I must say, our principals, our students, I think they were the brightest when it came to their shining moment and their accolades. And last but not least, I apologize for not getting you the schedule yet, but our winter season is fully underway. So I'm expecting great things from hockey, our basketball teams. Our wrestling team is dominating on the mats, as well as our track teams and our swim teams and our gymnastics teams. So I believe we have over 400 students participating in winter sports, which is outstanding. And with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Cabral. Just a couple of comments. I've had the privilege with a couple of our school committee members, Mrs. Fagan, Mr. Vieira, I believe Mr. Laura, to attend a wrestling match. My first ever, believe it or not, in my 6-year career here. And I'll tell you, there were 50-plus kids on the team, Mr. Vieira, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And Mr. Vieira gave me some scoring points of how they score and so forth and so on. But the difference in that auditorium was that all our kids had uniforms and warm-ups, whereas the other team, I won't mention their name, looked like they just came off the street, unfortunately. So I remember that there was a motion made from the athletic subcommittee to get the funds necessary to make sure these kids feel inclusive and that they're unified. Many of them don't compete. There's 50-some-odd kids, and Mr. Barati, you were there, as a matter of fact, cheering them on. And you would give me some pointers, too, but I don't think they were that good as Mr. Vieira. But anyway, it's a great feeling, that we have the ability to do this for our kids. And like I said, not all of them have the chance to compete, but they all felt like a team. They're all warming up on the sidelines and so forth and so on. And the other nice note was a chance to be at the home opener for basketball and welcoming the new coach, Kobe Santos. And I think what Mrs. Fagan did at the end of the game, which we don't need to get into, I think was much appreciated from him and his family that was in the audience. So another welcoming environment to someone that comes from another city, came from my alma mater, Bishop Stank High School, who won the state championship, as a matter of fact, under his coaching ability. So it's really great, if we can get out there, support these kids. I know hockey has a home game, I think, Friday.
I think I saw Mr. Ottavianelli yesterday, and I believe they changed the schedule and pushed the games up to tonight to accommodate the holiday, yes.
Okay, unfortunately, we won't be there. But I do have a question for our historian. Wasn't the Gary Zielinski referee the guy that made the bad call on Larry Bird, Mr. Fiore, against Magic Johnson in one of the playoffs? Do you remember that?
I don't remember specifically.
I always like to pick on Mr. Fiore, and I won't have...
Well, Mr. Fiore was a fan in those days, but...
Yeah, Larry Bird, remember? Wasn't that the guy? He was bald-headed? Well, whatever. No, that wasn't the guy? All right, I apologize. So anyway, any questions, comments from the committee? Mr. Vieira?
I just want to commend you for choosing DocuSign. I know it's a minor detail, but there has to be hundreds of applications, and DocuSign is by far the easiest to navigate, so I want to commend your administration for excellent selection. Absolutely.
Mrs. Secretary Fagan.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that last night, for some reason, I just wanted to get out, and I went to and Mr. Cabral was there because his daughter was in the band, and one of the kids that plays in the orchestra, I know him because he's an altar boy at the church I go to, and we do masses together sometime. He's a server and I'm a lector. And it was awesome. That performance last night was as outstanding as anything I've ever been to. And by the way, even the 8th grade band blew my socks off. I could not believe how good those kids were. They do a real nice job with music. And I mean, one of the things I've always advocated for here, that the more ancillary programs we have, the more kids you grab somewhere. And it was really, really nice last night.
And there wasn't an open seat at some of these performances. I mean, what did we go to, the Chamberlain or Friedman?
We went to 2 of them, and
There
it was
wasn't a seat to be had.
standing room only.
It's
It was
amazing.
very well attended. Martin couldn't hold it in their auditorium because of...
This is the high school auditorium, which is a
attendance,
testament.
yeah.
900 people.
Yeah, it's a testament to the programs that we offer, so let's keep up the good work.
And the only thing I'd just like to add is, again, I just want to remind everybody, mind the public, we're a comprehensive school system. So whether it's performing arts, athletics, and the academics, and the Chapter 74 programs, we're a comprehensive school system. And I'd like to think that, we provide plenty of opportunity and plenty of access. We just got to find creative ways to hook our kids in.
Well, Mr. Cabral, the program you were talking about that Mr. Ottavianelli brought in, the coaching stuff, what an opportunity that is for kids, because when my kids played Little League, they all became umpires afterwards, and when you're in college and you come home and you can make that kind of money, I mean, they're having a problem getting all kinds of referees. That's a great thing for kids,
Very true. Yeah, exactly. I benefited from that. Motion to accept the superintendent's report.
Second.
And on that motion, a recognition to the 3 individuals for their achievement,
Mr. Ottavianelli.
yeah, from the school committee,
Yeah.
from us,
Okay.
in their file,
Yep.
saying they will appreciate all they do.
Ms. Kirk,
And
yeah, and
Make it the motion amend to include the...
Absolutely.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, thank you. Next up, we have administrative business. Item A, Taunton Public Schools staffing update, C enclosure. What are the wishes of the committee?
Receive and place on file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, item B, Taunton Public Schools December 23 enrollment report, C enclosure. Any questions, comments? Mr. Viera?
I had requested the report. It looks like our overall attendance went up slightly since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it continues to fluctuate month to month. So if you look back on September 20th, we were just over 8,200. And then right around the time of the October 1st report, which would be 3 columns to the right, on 10/25, we dipped to 8,167. And then as of this last report, we are over 8,200 again at 8,237. So I'll continue to provide you with an updated attendance enrollment report at the second meeting of each month. And I believe the most substantial increase can be attributed to the 30 students we enrolled in the preschool program, which I should note that because we've seen increased enrollment in the preschool program, we're going to open a 6th full-day classroom, and that's going to be located here at E. Pole. So all our large elementary schools now have a preschool program, with the exception of our smaller neighborhood model schools, Galligan and Bennett, which also struggle for space. So I'm very proud of that work, and as long as there's a demand, we're going to find creative ways to add more classrooms.
Perfect.
Thank you. Wishes of the committee?
Motion to accept the report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, we have the revised 23-24 school committee planner, C enclosure. So if we could just briefly take a look at the January 3 and beyond. January 3 will be our first meeting, regular school committee meeting of the month of January. January 17th will be our second. And January 31st, we have a school committee retreat planned with Dr. Bent. Okay, I don't know if we have times yet, but I think it's.
I'll survey the group.
We'll survey the group for times. Any problems, issues, please let myself or Secretary Fagan know. And beyond February, I think it's pretty clear. I guess March had a little bit of a change. March, we will have the first regular school committee meeting in March as a capital improvement plan presentation and school safety presentation. On the second regular meeting, we'll have the special education, counseling, therapeutic support presentation, and then we will have a school committee recognition night scheduled for March 27. Mr. Superintendent, are we planning on doing the community outreach like we did last year? 3 different schools throughout the district?
Yeah, why don't we, once we get the new members on board, we can schedule a meeting.
That makes perfect sense.
Schedule an event.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Mr.
On the
Lee.
April date, April 12th, on the calendar, you have the 10th. You marked off the 10th.
That's a typo.
Is that
I'll make
just
that
typo?
correction. Correct, sorry.
Thank you.
So April 3rd is the first meeting,
Yeah.
which is the FY25 preliminary budget. April 10th
Right,
is
10th.
you have a
That's
school
the one,
committee
yeah.
forum
Yeah,
scheduled already.
I already do. Yeah.
Okay, and then April 17 is the finance and law bills only meeting.
That's vacation, right? April
That's
vacation.
school vacation week for the school district, yes.
Yep.
Okay, great, so motion, did we make a motion on this already?
Receive and place on file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, we have item I, Subcommittee Reports, Finance and Law Subcommittee, Chairman Fiore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Law Subcommittee met this evening with myself, Dr. DeMello, and Mr. Enos. First item was review of the special warrant procedure, and the administration asked that we convert drawdowns from grants to the special warrants so that they don't have to go through the school committee before approval, that they're automatically approved under this process. Dr. DeMello voted against it, but the other 2 of us voted to approve it. Then we had bills payable warrant, one for fiscal '23 in the amount of $525. That was just a single course reimbursement for a teacher. And then the fiscal '24 warrant in the amount of $1,136,722. It was approved. Dr. DeMello asked the administration for an update on the services that are provided by Associates for Human Services in the Taunton Area School to Career. Then we had the report of special education contracted legal services For the month of October, the invoice was for $2,057.60. Total charges year-to-date are $44.92.50, and the current balance in the account of $45,507.50. Then we also had three donations, $1,200 from Tom and Jimmy's, and two $1,000 donations that were anonymous, and the committee voted to accept those. And then we had a facilities dude update from our facilities manager. We've accomplished most of what has been on the list that was chargeable to the school department, and that's actually 75% of all facilities work for all the city buildings. And then the committee adjourned.
Wishes of the committee. Mr. Viera.
I was just wondering, is it appropriate to elaborate more on item 1, special warrants? I know you had voted against it.
If I may.
I just want to understand that.
Mr. Viera, yeah, for the record, I did vote against this. The reason I voted against this is that, as you can see on page 2, the list seems to be growing. We're up to 14 items now under what they call a special warrant, and some are minimal. Meals tax, postage, UPS shipping charges, so forth and so on. But the magnitude of these grants sometimes are in the millions, and I understand there's a new way of doing things, but if we keep adding to this list, by the time we know it, we won't need a school committee to vote on a finance and law subcommittee. So I'm very cautious of that, especially when we're talking about millions of dollars. We, as a school committee, I guess, serve as checks and balances to make sure the numbers add up. And that was my reason for voting no. If the superintendent wants to elaborate upon that, please do.
I'd be happy to. So typically in the past, when I was the business manager and prior to this new GEMS program, GEM, $ for the S, in the past, we would receive the entire grant. Title I, $2.1 million, and we draw down from the $2.1 million. With this new GEMS program, this new GEM system, we have to submit for reimbursement from the state. So what we're requesting is, instead of waiting every 2 to 3 weeks to receive the funds back, receive the funds back from the state, which takes a while, and then it creates more transfers for the business office and transfers on the city side. What we're asking is that we make this item put this on the item on the special warrant the same way we pay the utility bills, which you don't see the utility bills, and we spend over $2 million on electricity. So we're asking that we be able to seek reimbursement in a more timely fashion versus waiting for the reimbursements to come in because of this GEMS program, which is not being well received throughout the state. I'm hearing a lot of pushback from superintendents and business managers. However, to make sure that we have that constant cash flow coming in and that we're not using the appropriation instead of using the grants, we want to make sure we have that continuous cash flow by being able to put it on the special warrant, pay it, and then immediately seek reimbursement so the money keeps coming in so we don't have to wait.
Thank you, Superintendent. Mr. Viera?
So essentially, you pay it out of the appropriation, then reimburse yourself after you file the paperwork?
Yeah,
Is it
becomes cumbersome.
Is it impeding your ability to?
It could impede our ability to utilize the grants in the manner that we want to utilize them, correct.
If I may, Mr. Viera, we don't know. So we're kind of putting the cart in front of the horse. We don't know if this is going to impede business. So that's why I'm very cautious about including this in the special warrants. And any other discussion before, I'm going to break these down, by the way. Mr. Viera.
That was my next question. I think it serves probably as a good checks and balance, although I have a lot of respect for your statement, Superintendent. I'd also like to split the
Sure,
split
absolutely.
and vote on it.
Any other comments on the 5 items before us?
Can I just make one last comment?
Sure.
So in the 13-plus years that I've sat as a business manager and superintendent, I don't believe the school committee has ever pulled an item off the warrant. So that means either myself or Mrs. Moynihan, the business office, the city auditors, we must be doing something right because everything gets approved.
Mr. Cabral, if I may, I checked the warrant, I checked line by line, and I do question the warrant quite often at different meetings, so I don't know what you're referring to.
Nothing has ever been pulled off the warrant because you guys.
Or we could vote present, correct, which I have in the past on certain items. Well, I mean, that's the total committee, but it doesn't mean that a,
Usually it's a conflict. So it's a timeline matter with the fiscal year. which
Okay.
The city sets the timeline for the fiscal year, not the school.
well, again, you know, this is brand new to the district, it's brand new to the entire system. So again, we're authorizing something that we haven't even seen what the ramifications are. We can always come back and revisit this in the future and add it to the special warrant.
And as I
but
said
that's the
earlier.
wishes of the committee.
And as I've said earlier, whatever the consensus of the committee is, I'll live with, and I'll move forward, and we'll continue on with new business.
Thank you, Mr.
Any other
Cabral.
discussion? So on item 1, special warrant, what are the wishes of the committee?
A motion to approve as presented.
By the subcommittee, correct?
Yes.
Yes, second that.
Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I intend to vote no, because I want to wait till the program's around longer.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oppose.
Opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor, 2 opposed. Thank you. Number 2, bills payable FY '23 for $525. Wishes of the committee?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? 1, 2, 4, 6 in favor, 1 opposed. I'm sorry, correct that. I was in favor. I'm sorry. I am in favor. So unanimous. FY '24, $1,136,722. Wishes of the committee.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Special education was just basically a update on legal services, is that correct?
Correct.
Yep. So wishes of the committee on that item?
Motion to
Approval
approve.
as presented by the committee.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, we have the donation. I'm sorry, Mr. Fiore, Chairman Fiore, did you talk about the donation already?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
And then the subcommittee had voted to accept the 3 donations.
That's correct. Wishes of the committee?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And last, a facilities update. Wishes of the committee?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, we have new business. Sure. Yep. Item J, new business, Student Opportunity Act, also known as SOA, April 1st resubmission. See enclosure, Superintendent.
No, just real quickly, you can read the memo, and I'll just make you aware that we have to submit a new plan. And I'm happy to report, if you look at the last page that I provided you with, which was a document from the fiscal '24 budget, for our first Student Opportunity Act goal, that work is continuous in progress through the CIT. Reduction in class size, that work is ongoing and in process because we have bargained smaller class size language. Early college pathways, that is completed. We actually got that, or had DESE approve an 8th Chapter 74 program at the high school, so very proud of that. And then also, the last item as part of our SOA plan was to expand our early pre-K access. And as I noted, we're going to be opening up a 6th classroom here at Pole Elementary School. So everything that we said we were going to do under the Student Opportunity Act, we pretty much completed or accomplished or in the process of completing. So you might see the Student Opportunity Act. I've already met with the leadership team. I've already met with our district coordinators. We will involve the principals. I need to involve the school committee. And we also need to involve stakeholders. So we're going to try to line this up with our budget process and hit that April 1st deadline.
Thank you, Superintendent. Wishes of the committee on this? Receive and place on file will be in order.
Motion to receive and place on file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, we have the Taunton High School Bar Foundation site visit. See enclosure. Superintendent Cabral?
So it's very exciting. Back, I believe, sometime last year, the high school received a $100,000 grant through the Bar Foundation to reimagine the high school. So there have been countless retreats in-state. This work also involves retreats out-of-state to explore high schools with similar demographics, to research evidence-based practices, data-driven practices that can be implemented or supported here in the Taunton Public Schools. So I'll keep you abreast of our work. There is going to be a site visit to school systems in California sometime late late to mid-January. Again, this is exciting work with the opportunity to provide the high school with hundreds of $1,000s of funding to carry on this work.
Wish of the committee? So just to be clear, Superintendent, so this is going to involve some of our leadership team doing a site visit at a school in what, Arizona or California?
California and Arizona over a week period.
And that's at the expense of the Bar Foundation?
All expenses incurred by the Bar Foundation.
Wonderful, thank you. Wishes of the committee?
Receive and place on file.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, thank you. Item K, unfinished business, action items, update. Mr. Viera.
I had a discussion on the new business. I don't.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We can revert back to item J, new business.
Thank you. I was just wondering, is there any reason, or have I missed it, why we don't put our agendas online like every other body does? And is it, again, I know we don't have it on our agenda, so I don't want to break the open meeting law, but would it be appropriate to put it on or talk about it at a future meeting?
They are online.
They are?
On the school department's website, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can,
If you
we can
yeah.
discuss offline.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item K, unfinished business, action items, update. Item A, Taunton High School LED signage, C enclosure.
So I believe at the last meeting, Mr. Vieira asked for a rendering and also for the quotes regarding the sign replacement at the high school. So I believe all the documentation is in order. So at this time, if appropriate, a motion to accept or motion to authorize the administration to move forward with the purchase of a replacement sign.
I would so move that.
Second.
Second on discussion's been called. I am going to vote present on this. Although I've been the greatest advocate for this sign for the last couple of years, it's been inoperable to no one's blame, but I wanted to go with a local vendor. Sometimes the dollars outweigh the benefits of having a person within a couple miles coming to service the sign, so I'm voting present on this. Wishes of the committee? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm voting present. Yes, Mr. Vieira.
Do we have a timeline, or do we need to?
I don't want to put Mr. Jakes on the spot, but I can come back with a timeline. And just, again, I don't want to split hairs, but under Chapter 30B, we're supposed to go with the lowest and most responsive quote that we receive. So this vendor meets all those requirements.
Right, and if I may just add, responsive is part of that, and I think the responsibility of a responsive person that's not in Florida, I believe this company's out of Florida, also weighs a lot to the decision of sometimes paying a little bit more up front and getting the service we need. But anyway, vote's been taken. Ms. Lasser, there's 6 yeses, 1 present. I voted present. Thank you. Item B's already been discussed. The 2 Hamilton Street was discussed earlier. Item C, City of Taunton, Joseph Chamberlain. As a matter of fact, let's just recap for the public at home, because we did take this out of order. So item B, 2 Hamilton Street, City of Taunton purchase/transfer of building to the Taunton Public Schools, and authorization of school committee to have the superintendent of schools meet with the mayor/designee discussion. So if the maker of the motion could kindly repeat the motion so the public at home can understand what took place during that vote. Secretary Fagan? Yes. Do you want to repeat the motion of 2 Hamilton Street, or Ms. Lasser? Oh. She has it, right? Yeah. Sorry. It's just because we went out of order, so the public, if they're looking at the agenda, they don't think we skipped this. Take your time.
Mrs. Fagan made a motion to set up a meeting with the body of the city council and the school committee to talk about a joint meeting to discuss the transfer of the property to Hamilton Street. The motion was amended to add a date of January 3rd to the agenda for discussion on January 16th.
January 16th with the school committee?
With the school
and the city
committee
council?
And the city council, a
Correct.
joint meeting.
And I second that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Mr.
Well,
Lara seconded.
It's just for the public's information, because we went out of order. Thank you, Ms. Lasser.
You're
Next up, we have item C, City of Taunton, Joseph C. Chamberlain Elementary School, solar project and roof replacement. The motion on that, Ms. Lasser?
What was that one?
The
That
City
was,
of Taunton, Joseph
item C
Chamberlain.
on the agenda on K.
I think we just need to call the vote on that it was 5-4 in favor.
Favor, yes.
Oh, I didn't write that one in.
Yep, so on the outcome of that discussion was the City of Taunton Joseph Chamberlain Elementary School project and roof replacement was in favor of the school committee, 5-4 to allow.
Yes.
Is that correct?
To authorize, yeah.
authorize the City of Taunton to do as they please with our roofs, right? Basically.
With this particular project.
Yeah, with this particular project, the
Right.
Chamberlain, sorry, shouldn't have said plural. And that was a 5-4 vote in favor. Next up, we have the item D, action item update. And quickly looking at the list,
Most of these items are in process, like the awning, for example, that'll be completed in the spring. The culinary kitchen, that will be going out to bid. The food truck has been ordered. The outdoor dining area is near completion. So most of these items, it's just a matter of time before they get completed. The East Taunton Elementary naming, the new signage has been ordered. We're going to be meeting on the Hopewell roof, our long-range planning with Mr. Vieira once the new subcommittee has been formed. The traffic work is ongoing. The Gordon Owen sign has been, again, that'll remain on here until it's replaced. So most of these items, they're a work in progress.
would it be wise to schedule a meeting with the safety officer, put it on the next agenda, January 3rd, to possibly bring in the safety officer to discuss many discussions that's taken place? A couple of the members have met with the superintendent, the safety officer, and the leadership team. Then there was some rebuttal from students, which I think the student voice we excluded. Unfortunately, I also was part of that. So I think that we need to devise a plan, which has been constant as far as traffic patterns and issues and keeping our students in mind, students first. So would it be proper that a motion be made for the January 3rd meeting to discuss and then invite the safety officer?
If I could, just, again, I'm all for having this conversation, but I'm wondering if it would be wise to maybe push it off, because January 3rd is going to be our organizational meeting. So much of that time is spent creating the subcommittees, and usually that meeting is all about the organization. So we could put it off to the 16th, or we could schedule a meeting on an off week.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Vieira, do you have a comment?
No, I was the last meeting, they were still putting together student groups for student input, and they're still gathering information
Okay.
and facts in
I
conjunction
wasn't aware
with
of
the
that.
TPD.
Thank you for
No, it's-
letting me know and the
absolutely.
public know at home. Okay, so we'll visit this with the new committee in January. Next up, we have press time. I don't see any press in the audience. But before we adjourn, we have a couple of comments. I'm sorry, your press? Oh, okay. I just want the public at home to understand and know that the TMLP 2024 calendar is printed and was delivered to the schools today. We had some of our Taunton students in different grade levels earn a page or a month with their rendering. So the schools that participated, the calendars were delivered today from TMLP staff, so they can take it home for the holidays. How's that? And before we adjourn, we have a couple of comments and I guess some parting gifts for our two members that will not be with us in January. They will be with us, but not physically at the table. And Superintendent, how about you start it off?
So, just a little token of our appreciation for your dedicated service to the Taunton Public Schools. So, Mr. Fiore and Mr. George. So I'll start with Mr. George. What a lot of members in the public don't realize is Derek and I are the same age, but I had Derek as a student. So I had Derek as a 7th grade student at Parker Middle School, and I knew then that as a young person that he was going to go on and do great things. But little did I know he was going to do great things in the area of education and the area of community service. So you've heard me use the term servant leader, servant leadership, and Derek George exemplifies what it means to be a servant leader. He gives back to this community in many different ways, in many different forms, and there's no better way to exemplify what it means to be a servant leader than through education, and to give back everything that you've been blessed to receive through the mentors and the adults that and the great teachers, great principal that you had in your life. So I'm happy to see you as administrator, and I know that we will be crossing paths again in the very near future, Derek. It's been an honor to serve with you as a superintendent, and I'm very proud of the work that you've done in Fall River, my old hometown, and the work that you're doing in Attleboro.
Before we go on to Mr. Fiore, I'd like to go around the table regarding Mr. George, if anybody has any comments to share. I'll start with you, Mr. Laura.
Derek, it's been a pleasure. We've been friends for a long time, and just anything that we can do to help you in your future endeavors, we're here for to do so. My friendship to you and your wife.
Mr. Vieira?
Derek, as I told your grandfather last time I saw him, it's been an absolute honor and privilege to serve with you. I feel like we've had a great friendship, and I hope that can continue. And the last 2 years we spent together, nobody can ever take from us, so.
Thank you, Mr. Vieira. Mr. Polsky?
Derek, it's been a pleasure to serve with you. I've learned a lot from working with you on this body. Obviously, you bring quite a lot to the table. I'm very happy to know that someone like you is working in education, leading young people, and keep doing what you're doing. And I'm always here if you need anything from me. So keep in touch.
Thank you, Ms. Polsky. Mr. Fiore?
Derek, you're a terrific addition, and you're going to be a terrific loss, but we all know your future is in being a principal and perhaps a superintendent, and we know it's going to be a bright one. I've had a great time with you, had a great time with mentoring you as well, and I expect to see great things.
Thank you, Mr. Fiore. Secretary Fagan?
Derek, it was so
Mike,
nice
please.
to meet.
Mike?
Oh. So nice to meet you through this process. You were friends of one of my sons, and he said, Derek always liked me because he and I liked the same music, and he was surprised that he and I liked the same music. So, and I know you've always asked about him, and he's doing really well. But I always like to watch my kids eat. There's nothing, I always cooked big meals. Whenever I came here down with something, you liked it, and you ate it, and you always made me feel like $1,000,000. I'm gonna miss that. Give me a call sometime when you want some walnut squares, and I'll be more than happy to deliver them to you. Okay.
As long as she stops at 8 Fruit Street first.
Yeah, do I have to make them the day we do this? Yes, I do.
Anyway, Derek, I didn't know you from a hole in the wall when you started to run. We met, but I knew more about you than you thought I knew, because two very important people in your life told me about you, and you know who we're talking about. I'm not going to mention names because I know what's going to happen. But that one individual, I'll just say it, your grandmother, told me a lot about you, and every time we see each other at Classic Pizza, she'd always call me Gregorio, because her dad was Gregorio, and her brother was Gregory. And of course, my Portuguese baptismal name is Gregorio, and my American name is Gregory. So we always had a special connection. But I knew a lot about you through your grandma and, of course, your grandpa. And I thank you for your service to the students. Your heart, your soul, your dedication was always there, and it's still there, and I know it's not going to leave. And I guess the best thing that come out of this is two things. First, it's only 2 years, so there's another election in 2 years. And second, you have no conflict that you can work now in Taunton Public Schools, correct? So there's a cooling off period. How long is that? Okay, anyway, so there's a cooling off period, so cool off, okay? Cool off. And anyway, you're always welcome, and anything I can do to help, and whether it's at the university level, personal level, just don't ask me for any money. I don't have any money to give you, and share the walnut squares that Secretary Fagan will be making. So thank you so much. Derek, please, a couple comments from you, if you like.
I want to thank you all for those amazing comments. It made me feel good. You guys all made me feel welcome. You know, first I'd like to thank my family and the people who voted for me to get me in this position, people who have mentored me and pushed me to kind of make that leap to really even, you know, see myself in this role. And, you know, I really just hope if anyone has seen me go through this process that they're willing to take that leap for anything they believe in, whether it's to make a change in their community, to make a change in the school system. Just, you know, put your foot in there, try it out, and see what could happen. And through this experience, I've got to meet great people. I've got to know people that I've met before, but in a different capacity. And I feel like I've been able to make a lot of positive change throughout the 2 years being here, especially having 2 kids in the system. So I really appreciate the time we've spent together, and I look forward to, you know, the work that we'll still be able to do together in hopefully a different capacity. But thank you all.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next up, is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, no, I forgot. The historian, Jody Fiore. Before we get to Jody, Superintendent, you want to go first?
I'll go quick, but it's going to be hard to go quick because the Fiore family was one of the first families I met in the Taunton Public Schools when I began as an educator at the Parker Middle School in 1998. Actually, Charlene, I think I've either worked or had a Fiore throughout my career in the Taunton Public Schools. So I worked with Charlene, I had your daughter Heidi, and I've gotten to know you, Jordan, in many different capacities, whether it was city council, school committee, or now on school committee again. And I've always enjoyed our conversations. I've always enjoyed asking you and asking you questions, having those deep conversations. You know, your acumen, your historical knowledge, but most importantly, I think what we're going to miss the most is your level-headedness. Now, you were always able to bring this committee together, whether when things would get a little contentious, things might get a little heated, you always seem to be that voice of reason to bring everybody back together. So you are, again, an outstanding example of what it means to be a servant leader to this community. Your heart has always been for the kids, and you really exemplify, if it's good for kids, then let's do it. I will miss you, but I look forward to future conversations where we're not on the clock. So best of luck to you in the future, Jordan.
Thank you, Superintendent. Mr. Laura?
Jody, the number of years that I've loved you, respect you, your family, we've shared so much, we've done so much together. I mean, we go back to the city council, we go back to numerous things that we've done in this community for the benefit of all the people living here in Taunton. Your knowledge, your wisdom, it goes a long way. And I just can't say enough that I can call you my friend. We have times when we disagree with our sentiments, but the love is always there. Nice and a pleasure to know you.
Thank you, Mr. Laura. Mr. George?
Jody, just want to say thank you for everything you've given to this community. To me personally, I'll be selfish. You've been very helpful in this whole process. You were always, you know, someone who kind of lit a fire under me and pushed me forward. A lot of things I admire about you. Your knowledge, your memory, how you remember things is impressive. Your kindness, and first and foremost, your fashion, right? Like you're one of the most fashionable people I've ever seen before. So I just want to thank you for that, and I will try to, you know, follow in your footsteps with that.
Thank you, Mr. George. Mr. Vieira?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jody, thank you for your commitment to the city. You have been like a mentor to me on this committee, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your institutional knowledge is irreplaceable, really. I'm going to miss your committee reports because I think you do the best job out of anybody. Sorry, guys. And I hope we can still get together for lunch and see each other personally, because I enjoy talking to you about the history of the city. Thank you, Jody.
Thank you, Mr. Vieira. Mr. Pawlowski?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jordan, it's been a pleasure. When I started, I was the only new member, so I had the luxury of 7 mentors along the way. You've always been really helpful to me. I really marvel at your wealth of knowledge about the school system in this city and history, but like the most important thing is really your commitment to the children of the city of Taunton. You are always measured in your decision-making, and you always have the best interests of the student at heart. So it's been a pleasure, and if there's anything you ever need from me, please don't hesitate to reach out. So thank you, Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Pawlowski. Secretary Fagan?
Jody, between my husband and I, we've known you for a long time. I remember one time my husband brought you home from Boston. I guess you were doing work up there. And he comes in the house and he goes, Christine, Jody just named every lieutenant governor's wife's name for me all the way home. I'll never forget him telling me that. I've enjoyed working with you over the years and giving you rides home and whatever else we used to do together, and you were another one I like to watch eat, because I know you like, and I made something tonight that you probably would have liked, the strawberry stuff with the Jell-O and all that stuff. And Derek, I think that you ought to be a real good guy and take him out to wherever you go clothes shopping. That'll teach you, right?
Right to the outlets.
What did you say?
We'll right to Rentham after Christmas shopping.
Yeah, that's what you know, but anyway, it's been a pleasure, and I hope you enjoy your retirement, and we're gonna miss you, and I'm sure you're gonna miss us, you know, you end up, when you're in a situation like this, become like a family, you start, you really start to care about people. And what I liked about serving here was being the only woman elected to this committee, because I'd say to everybody, I love those guys. I said, it's like me having it's my family, and I really do enjoy, I did enjoy working with all of you. It was kind of fun being a mother hen to all of you. So I'm gonna miss you, and like I said, I hope everything goes well with you.
Thank you, Secretary Fagan. Jody, I will never forget you, because in Boyden Hall, I get to see your dad every day almost when I look up on the wall, and he reminds me of you, of course. And coming in 6 years ago, I relied on you for a lot of historical, institutional knowledge that was always accurate. Every time I'd call you, you'd take the time to pick up the phone and not give me an abrupt answer, but give me a thoughtful answer. And, it was one of those answers that you would expect a 1 minute or, 2 minute answer, and it wouldn't be. It would be a methodical, well thought out, informed answer. And I really appreciate that. Thank you for the service to the city and the many capacities that you've served, and most importantly to the students. I know that you've impacted so many student lives directly and indirectly, and I know that a lot of them still respect and look up to you. So the fondest memory I have of you is when we had the school committee volleyball team play the, what was that team from New Hampshire? And Jody was the server. Remember that, Stevie? Only kidding.
They called me Spike.
That didn't happen. I thank you for allowing me to pick on you so many times. You've always been a sport, and good luck to you, and good health, and we're only a phone call away. Jody?
Well, I'm going to miss this tremendously, because I didn't volunteer to leave because I was bored, but because I knew the future needed to develop and the committee needed to be younger. And I also spent the last 6 years dealing with the younger people that I'm relying on for the future, and I think they need to develop. Also, we had a little too much testosterone these last 2 years, and I'm very pleased that there are two very fine women who are going to be replacing me. Unfortunately, there's a third one with my last name who didn't make it this time, but she will in the future. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not done yet. I've got a lot of things to do. I also came up just 14 votes shy of another board, so you may be seeing me around yet. A couple of cautions for the future. We cannot use being an urban district as an excuse for underperformance. We need to put as much into the schools as possible. And let's not brag about the lowest per pupil cost. That's something to be ashamed of. And it's something on both sides of government I've always worked to try to overcome, and it's going to take generations to actually do it. I mean, my dad was railing against it 65 years ago when he first ran for the school committee. But again, I'm hoping there's still a place for me in society. I am still working day jobs that are pretty rewarding. And also, a lot of you know my religious denomination right now has a schism in it, and I'm very much involved with the issues they have with church properties and with preaching ministry. So that'll take up some of my time, but I'm going to miss government. I hope there's a place for me somewhere, either elected or appointed over the next few years. I thought the strategic birthday I'm going to reach next fall was going to be the end, because the Bible says it is, but hopefully I get a few good years beyond that, and if I am, I hope I can give back some more to the community. But it's been a joy being with you folks. It's been a joy dealing with students and staff, and I'll still have some involvement because I'm on a scholarship committee, so you'll see me at honors night, and I'm still on a couple of the community input teams, so I'm not giving up on it yet, but we needed a change. I needed a change, and the system needed a change, and hopefully it's going to work out well for all of us.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you so much.
Alrighty. A motion to adjourn would be in order.
Second.
Merry Christmas to all. Safe and happy holidays. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Happy New Year, everyone. Merry Christmas. Hey, did you get me a calendar?